Chapter 683. The world announcement was repeated 3 times, and the entire world channel exploded. F***CK. F***CK. What's the underground palace secret territory for? Why is it on the world announcement for opening a secret territory? Idiot. Do you even need to think about it? How can a secret territory that's on the world announcement be simple? There must be good stuff in the underground palace secret territory. There must be a lot of good treasures. I'm going to be rich. Please, think about who opened the underground palace secret territory first. Then we'll talk about whether or not you're going to be rich. F***CK, it can't be. The world announcement said that the underground palace secret territory has opened, and anyone can enter. Yi-Chen can't be so overbearing as to stop us from entering, right? Don't say that he won't. Based on Yi-Chen's past behavior, there's nothing he won't do. Also, don't forget that the underground palace secret territory was opened by Yi-Chen. So, Yi-Chen must value this secret territory. Otherwise, why would Yi-Chen go out of his way to open the underground palace secret territory? F***CK. So what if Yi-Chen is the one who opened the underground palace's secret realm? Firstly, we didn't steal. Secondly, we didn't rob. And thirdly, we didn't make Yi-Chen our enemy. Why is Yi-Chen stopping us from entering the underground palace's secret realm? Why? If you were Yi-Chen and had the ability to monopolize it, would you share the good stuff with others? F***CK. I don't care anymore. Even if Yi-Chen stops us, I'm going in. The underground palace secret territory doesn't belong to Yi-Chen alone. That's right, we're all going. We're not robbing Yi-Chen. We're just going to kill some monsters. Yi-Chen can't be so overbearing and inhumane. That's right, I'm going too. The world channel was abuzz with activity. Yi-Chen glanced at it and narrowed his eyes. No one could enter the underground palace secret territory. Yi-Chen knew that the players were excited about the opening of the underground palace secret territory. After all, this was the situation in Yi-Chen's previous life. At that time, as soon as the news of the underground palace's secret realm was announced to the world, it caused a huge commotion. Then, countless players heard the news and gathered at the underground palace's secret realm. However, the outcome was out of everyone's expectations. Despite so many players working together to raid the secret land, not a single one of them had gained a single piece of EXP or dropped a single piece of equipment. Instead, they had all died inside the secret land. At that time, the underground palace was like a meat grinder. No matter how many people entered, they would all die. When the players woke up from their madness, the first emperor of the Qin dynasty was reborn and became a corpse emperor. Then, he led the millions of zombies of the pre-Qin dynasty to the primordial world and disappeared. And what left with Qin Shi Huang was the 9 cauldrons of the Protector Kingdom. It was precisely because Yi-Chen knew about this that his killing intent soared when he saw the gamers' comments on the World Channel. After all, the Underground Palace's secret realm was essentially a death trap set up by Qin Shi Huang. If the gamers really charged into the Underground Palace's secret realm, like in Yi-Chen's previous life, and died in large numbers, then Yi-Chen's plan for the Underground Palace's secret realm would definitely go out of control. As for the reason, it was very simple. Qin Shi Huang's goal was a large amount of flesh. If the gamers died in large numbers, they would definitely contribute a large amount of flesh to Qin Shi Huang. In that case, Qin Shi Huang would most likely be reborn and become a corpse emperor like in Yi-Chen's previous life. Then, Qin Shi Huang would lead the millions of zombies to the primordial world. And this wasn't the key. The key was that the 9 cauldrons of the Protector Kingdom would also be taken away by Qin Shi Huang. Yi-Chen didn't want to see this happen. After all, Yi-Chen's key goal in opening the Underground Palace's secret realm was the 9 cauldrons of the Protector Kingdom. It was also because of this that Yi-Chen didn't want the gamers to enter the Underground Palace's secret realm. At this thought, Yi-Chen looked at the Samsara Legion and shouted, "Samsara Legion, listen to my command." Swoosh! The 510,000 soldiers of the Samsara Legion all knelt on one knee and quietly waited for Yi-Chen's orders. When Yi-Chen saw this and was about to give his command, he suddenly stepped forward and bowed. "My lord, please wait." Yi-Chen was taken aback and looked at Guo-Yi. Before Yi-Chen could ask, Guo-Yi bowed again and said, "My lord, do you intend to leave the Samsara Legion here to prevent the players from approaching?" "That's right. The underground palace's secret realm is of great importance. We can't allow any accidents to happen." Yi-Chen nodded and said. After hearing Yi-Chen's words, Guo-Yi glanced at the nearby cave and bowed to Yi-Chen solemnly. "My lord, when the underground palace's secret realm opened, I used the eye of ghosts and deities to observe it. It was filled with murderous intent and an ominous aura. If one barged in without a blood sacrifice, he would definitely be cursed by the power of the netherworld. My lord, your realm is extraordinary and your body is full of yang energy, so there's no need to worry. We have the treasures that my lord gave us to protect ourselves, so there's no need to be afraid. However, no one in the White Horse Legion can withstand this curse. Even if my lord obtains everything in the underground palace's secret realm and the White Horse Legion retreats safely, they will still die from the curse. The duration of their death will not exceed 3 days." When Yi-Chen heard this, he frowned. Then, he used his divine perception to probe the underground palace's secret realm. In the next second, Yi-Chen's face darkened. The underground palace's secret realm actually blocked divine perception. At this thought, Yi-Chen hurriedly looked at Guo-Yi and asked, "Feng Xiao, is there a way to break it?" Yi-Chen did not want the players to enter the underground palace's secret realm, nor did he want his subordinates to suffer large-scale casualties because of the underground palace's secret realm. Otherwise, Yi-Chen would not have asked Guo-Yi. When Guo-Yi heard this, he shook his head and bowed, saying, "My lord, the ominous aura in the underground palace's secret realm is too strong. If I'm not wrong, this ominous aura should come from a formation called the Nine Nether Corpse Refinement Formation from the Pre-Qin Dynasty. If that's all, it won't be too difficult. My lord, you only need to personally break the Nine Nether Corpse Refinement Formation's core. However, the Nine Nether Corpse Refinement Formation in the Underground Palace's secret realm is different from what is recorded in ancient books. The core of the formation is protected by 9 strong forces of destiny. If you want to break the Nine Nether Corpse Refinement Formation, you must break these 9 forces of destiny." Guo-Yi sighed and continued, "In my opinion, these forces of destiny are extremely strong. In my opinion, these 9 streams of fortune are extremely dense, comparable to the fortune of a nation. The only way to get rid of them is to attack the 9 Serenity's Corpse Refining Grand Formation. There's no other way." Yi-Chen was slightly taken aback when he heard this. Then, he frowned again. The 9 Nether Corpse Refinement Formation should be the formation recorded in the Pre-Qin Secret Scroll when he killed Yu Ji and Zhou Xi. But what's up with the 9 forces of destiny? Yi-Chen suddenly froze when he thought of this. Then his eyes widened. The 9 cauldrons of the kingdom. It must be the 9 cauldrons of the kingdom. Damn, this Qin Shi Huang is really cunning. He actually used the 9 cauldrons of the kingdom to protect the core of the 9 Nether Corpse Refinement Formation. This way, if others did not know about the 9 cauldrons of the kingdom, they would simply enter the underground palace's secret realm. If they knew, they would also try to break through and fall into Qin Shi Huang's trap. Wait, the fate of a nation. Could it be that half of the fate of the eastern region was in the 9 cauldrons of the kingdom? That must be it. At this thought, Yi-Chen's eyes shone brightly. Chapter 684. Originally, I thought that Qin Shi Huang's 9 cauldrons didn't lock up much of the heaven and earth providence. I didn't expect that half of the heaven and earth providence in the 3 kingdoms beginner area was in Qin Shi Huang's hands. If that's the case, once I get the 9 cauldrons, half of the heaven and earth providence in the 3 kingdoms beginner area will belong to me. Thinking of this, Yi-Chen looked at the Samsara Legion and the White Horse Legion. He shouted, "Stay where you are. If anyone wants to enter the underground palace mystic realm, let them pass. If anyone attacks or even threatens them, kill them." Yi-Chen didn't want to let the players enter the underground palace mystic realm, but Guiyi's eye of the demon god had seen the abnormality of the underground palace mystic realm. Yi-Chen didn't want to risk the lives of his army. The moment Yi Chun finished speaking, the 510,000 Samsara Legion and 100,000 White Horse Legion bowed in unison. Yes, my lord. Yi Chun nodded and looked at Dian Xiong, Gui Yi, Zhang San, Guan Er, Gao Shun, Sun Qing, Kai Yin, and the other subordinates. He shouted, "Follow me into the underground palace mystic realm." Yes, my lord. When Dian Xiong, Gui Yi, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Sun Qing, Kai Yin, and the others heard this, they bowed and responded in unison. After they finished speaking, they followed Yi Chun towards the foot of Mount Li, towards the cave that emitted a dim light. Yi Chun's main goal in opening the underground palace mystic realm was the 9 cauldrons of the ancient kingdom. Next was the 6 arts that might exist in the underground palace mystic realm. Finally, it was to train the soldiers. Now that it was dangerous for the soldiers to enter the underground palace mystic realm, Yi Chun naturally gave up on training the soldiers and changed his target to the 9 cauldrons of the ancient kingdom and the 6 arts. The 9 cauldrons of the ancient kingdom didn't have any special methods. They could only attack by force. However, it was different to obtain the 6 arts, because that was the legacy. To be precise, if Yi Chun wanted to obtain the 6 arts that might exist in the underground palace mystic realm, he had to let his subordinates follow Yi Chun into the underground palace mystic realm. Otherwise, Yi Chun wouldn't have been able to obtain the 6 arts. As for the reason, it was very simple. Yi Chun did not have the foundation of the 6 arts of ancient times, so it was impossible for him to obtain the inheritance of the 6 arts. However, Yi Chun's subordinates were different. Regardless of whether they were civil officials or generals, all of them had the foundation of the 6 arts. Even if they were not well-versed in it, they still had it. There was no doubt about that. Therefore, Yi Chun's subordinates were the key to obtaining the 6 arts inheritance. Of course, if it were not for the fact that his subordinates were protected by magical equipment that could ignore the ominous aura in the underground palace, Yi Chun would not have asked his subordinates to risk their lives to enter the underground palace for the heritage of the 6 arts. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Yi Chun led his subordinates to the cave. Zhao Yun, who was standing in front of the entrance to the secret territory of the underground palace, hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. "Greetings, my lord." When Yi Chun heard this, he nodded with a smile and said, "That's right. Yun Zheng, follow me into the secret realm." "Yes, my lord." When Zhao Yun heard this, he was slightly taken aback and hurriedly bowed. Zhao Yun was in a daze. It was not that he did not want to enter the secret realm, but he was puzzled that Yi Chun did not bring any troops with him. Of course, although he was puzzled, Zhao Yun would not ask Yi Chun about this. This was because he knew that Yi Chun had his reasons for doing so. What he needed to do was only one thing, and that was to carry out Yi Chun's orders without hesitation. When Yi Chun heard this, he chuckled and nodded. Just as he was about to enter, he stopped and looked at the 2 bronze doors of the secret territory of the underground palace. In the next second, Yi Chun's eyes widened. The bronze of the first mountain. Damn it, it was actually the bronze of the first mountain. Yi Chun did not expect to gain so much even before entering the secret territory of the underground palace. After all, the bronze of the first mountain was not an ordinary item. It was an immortal material. In the legends, the Yellow Emperor had used the bronze of the first mountain to cast his tripod cauldron. The 2 bronze doors at the entrance of the underground palace were also made from the bronze of the first mountain. As for why Yi Chun could recognize the material of the bronze doors at a glance, it was also because of Yi Chun's memories from his previous life. Otherwise, Yi Chun would not have been able to recognize it at a glance. Where did Qin Shi Huang get the bronze of the first mountain? No matter where he got it from, these 2 bronze doors belong to me. The reason why Yi Chun wanted the bronze doors made from the first mountain was very simple. To be more precise, Yi Chun wanted to reforge the bronze doors into an incense burner cauldron. Then, he would use it when he unified the world, ascended the throne, and made offerings to the heavens and earth. In this way, Yi Chun would be able to communicate with the heavens and earth more easily and announce the establishment of a dynasty. At the thought of this, the corners of Yi Chun's mouth curled up. Then he grabbed one of the bronze doors with his right hand and pulled it violently. Bang! Bang! Two loud bangs were heard. The bronze doors, which originally weighed hundreds of thousands of kilograms and could withstand the impact of a siege chariot, were instantly pulled down by Yi Chun. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gui Yi, Zhang San, Guan Er, Gao Shun, Zhang Liao, Su Chu, Gan Ning, and the others were all stunned when they saw this. They knew that their lord was very powerful and could ride the clouds and summon the wind and rain. However, they had never seen their lord, Yi Chun, use such brutal power, and now they saw it for themselves. The scene in front of them was really unbelievable. One had to know that the bronze doors at the entrance of the underground palace were solid and weighed at least hundreds of thousands of kilograms. However, their lord, Yi Chun, just grabbed a bronze door that weighed hundreds of thousands of kilograms and pulled it down violently. Then, he easily held it in his hand. If this wasn't brutal, then what was brutal? After coming back to their senses, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gui Yi, Zhang San, Guan Er, and the others couldn't help but look at each other. Then, they all bowed to Yi Chun with great respect and admiration. "My lord, you are so brave." When Yi Chun heard this, he smiled slightly and directly kept the bronze doors in his small world. In the next second, Yi Chun grabbed another bronze door and violently kept it in his small world. After doing this, Yi Chun nodded in satisfaction and said, "Let's go in. Let's go in and meet this emperor of the past." "Yes, my lord." When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gui Yi, Guan Er, Zhang San, and the others heard this, their expressions turned solemn. After that, they followed Yi Chun directly into the underground palace secret realm. Who would have thought that as soon as they entered, they would hear the sound of something flying through the air? Yi Chun, who was walking at the very front, smirked in disdain when he heard the sound of something flying through the air. At this moment, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Su Chu, and the other generals' expressions all changed. They hurriedly took out their magic treasure swords and leaped in front of Yi Chun. In the next second, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Su Chu, and the other general swords flew up and down, instantly creating a curtain of swords. In the blink of an eye, the sound of collisions rang out. Ding, ding, ding. Countless arrows were forcefully intercepted by Zhao Yunzheng, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, Guan Er, Su Chu, and the other generals before falling to the ground. When the arrows stopped shooting, Gui Yi suddenly took a few steps forward and came to Yi Chun's side. After glancing at the arrows all over the ground, his face suddenly changed. He then hurriedly looked at Yi Chun and bowed, saying, "My lord, these arrows are covered in poison, and it's a poison that surpasses the mortal realm." Chapter 685. When Yi Chun heard this, he frowned and looked at the arrows on the ground. At this moment, the arrows on the ground suddenly exploded. Pung, pung, pung. At this moment, a large amount of yellowish-brown smoke rose from the ground. Seeing this, Yi Chun's face sank. Without thinking, he waved his right hand and put all his subordinates into the small world. In the next second, Yi Chun's right hand slapped forward and a violent explosion sounded. Boom! A gust of wind appeared and swept up the yellowish-brown smoke that had just risen from the ground. It quickly flew toward the distorted space that had suddenly appeared in front of them. After a few breaths, the yellowish-brown smoke dissipated. Seeing this, Yi Chun's mind moved, and his divine sense immediately entered the small world. After confirming that his subordinates were not poisoned, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, Yi Chun's face immediately turned ugly. My memory can't be wrong. In my previous life, when the underground palace secret realm opened, there was this arrow mechanism, but there was no poison on the arrows, and there was no poisonous gas produced by the explosion. How could there be such an unforeseen event when the underground palace secret realm opened in this life? Could it be because I killed Zhao Ji and opened the underground palace secret realm in advance? It was no wonder that Yi Chun thought this way. After all, Yi Chun's previous life opened the underground palace secret realm because of a female player who was possessed by Zhao Ji. After Yi Chun was reborn, he coincidentally met Zhao Ji's soul and killed it, obtaining the 9 cauldron treasure map fragment. After that, Yi Chen's luck kept increasing, and he collected the 9 cauldron treasure map in advance. Then, the underground palace secret realm opened half a year earlier than in his previous life. This was the difference between this life and his previous life. Now that Yi Chen had opened the underground palace secret realm, he encountered a completely different situation as soon as he entered. How could Yi Chen not think in this direction? If it wasn't because he killed Zhao Ji, could it be that the 2 bronze gates made of copper from Mount Shou were taken away by him? Regardless of the reason, the underground dungeon was much more dangerous than it was in his previous life. Thinking of this, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes, a cold light flashing in them. Even if the danger level has increased, I still have to give it a try. He had to get the 9 cauldrons of the ancient kingdom no matter what. Thinking of this, Yi Chen waved his right hand, and all the subordinates that he had just received into the small world appeared behind Yi Chen. Just as Yi Chen was about to speak, he saw Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gu Yi, Guan Er, Zhao Yun, and the others returning to the entrance of the secret realm. They bowed to Yi Chen in unison and said in a loud voice, "Thank you, my lord, for saving my life." There's no need for that. However, all of you must remember that this underground secret realm is different from what I expected. You must be extremely careful. Don't fall into its trap. Yi Chen nodded his head when he heard this before he spoke. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gu Yi, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, and the others' expressions turned solemn when they heard this. They bowed again and said, "Yes, my lord, enter the secret realm." Yi Chen nodded and said. After saying this, he took a step forward and walked into the depths of the tunnel. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gu Yi, Guan Er, and Zhang San followed closely behind. They followed Yi Chen to a blue door of light and walked straight in. After a brief moment of dizziness, Yi Chen led his subordinates into the underground dungeon. When Yi Chen opened his eyes, he immediately frowned. What entered his eyes was a barren land, and the ground was a strange dark red. With a light sniff, a strong smell of blood directly assaulted his nose. This place seemed to have experienced more than one great battle. The underground dungeon in his previous life didn't seem to be like this. Thinking of this, Yi Chen looked around and frowned again. In the distance, there was a thick fog that he couldn't see through. Noticing this, Yi Chen's divine sense moved and his face sank. The fog in the distance actually had the effect of blocking divine sense. Yi Chen's divine sense could barely see through 100 meters. He couldn't see beyond that. Sure enough, this underground dungeon was different from his previous life. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, a murderous aura suddenly came from the distance. Then he saw that the originally still fog in the distance suddenly accelerated and floated toward Yi Chen. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Su Chu, and the other generals saw this and took out their weapons at the same time. Then, they rushed in front of Yi Chen and stared solemnly at the fog that suddenly appeared in front of them. At this moment, Gui Yi's eyes suddenly narrowed and he looked straight at the fog. After a few breaths, Gui Yi retracted his gaze and hurriedly bowed to Yi Chen. "My lord, retreat quickly. Feng Shao, you can see through this fog." Yi Chen's eyes lit up when he heard this. He looked at Gui Yi and asked. Gui Yi hurriedly nodded and said anxiously, "My lord, this fog is formed from the Yellow River. My lord, this thick fog is formed by the water of the Yellow Springs. Behind the fog are 100,000 Pre-Qin soldiers. The Pre-Qin soldiers are not scary, but the water of the Yellow Springs can corrode one's body and destroy one's soul. My lord, please leave the secret realm immediately." Yellow River's water. Yi Chen's expression changed when he heard this. Yi Chen naturally knew what the Yellow River's water that Gui Yi spoke of was. This thing was not good for the living. If one fell into it, even Yi Chen's flesh and blood would be washed away. The Yellow River's water would also wash away the memories in his soul. Of course, while the Yellow River's water was frightening, Yi Chen would not be shocked or afraid because of this. After all, no matter how dangerous the Yellow River's water was, Yi Chen had a way to deal with it. The reason why Yi Chen's expression changed when he heard that the fog was formed from the Yellow River's water was because the level of danger in this underground dungeon was far beyond Yi Chen's expectations. Yi Chen had sensed this before entering the underground dungeon, but Yi Chen had never imagined that the underground dungeon in this life would be even more dangerous than Yi Chen had imagined. Damn it! What the hell is going on? No one else in the Three Kingdoms beginners area could have entered this level of difficulty except for me. Yi Chen was taken aback when he thought of this. Then, a thought involuntarily popped up in his mind. Damn it! Could it be that the difficulty of this underground dungeon has increased because of me? Damn it! Maybe that's really the case. Yi Chen could not be blamed for thinking this way. After all, Yi Chen had connate spiritual treasures and connate cardinal treasures, and his cultivation had reached the god martial realm. In terms of variables, Yi Chen was the biggest variable in this world. So be it. Even if it's dangerous, what can it do to me? At this thought, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. Then, with a wave of his right hand, the connate spiritual treasure water spirit pearl appeared in an instant. In the next second, the connate spiritual treasure water spirit pearl suddenly shook. After a wong sound was heard, a surge of water energy suddenly erupted from the water spirit pearl. Then, the water spirit pearl directly rose into the air and flew straight into the thick fog. Chapter 686. Just as the water spirit orb flew into the thick fog, a uniform shout suddenly rang out from the thick fog. Wind! 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 In the next second, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As the sound rang out, a black shadow appeared. Suddenly, 100,000 arrows flew out from the dense fog. Then, they shot towards Yi Chen at high speed. Protect the Lord. When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Su Chu, Gan Ning, and the other generals saw this, their expressions changed. Without thinking, they took a step back and stood firmly in front of Yi Chen. At the same time, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Su Chu, and the others raised their weapons at the same time, preparing to defend against the sudden rain of arrows. When Yi Chen saw this, he could not help but feel warmth in his heart. Then, he straightened his right hand and coldly shouted, Army Formula. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, a golden and quaint army character appeared on the ground. The army character was surrounded by golden light, forming a huge golden disc. Within it, tiny golden runes swam continuously, and Yi Chen was standing in it. At the same time, the sound of the great Tao could be heard. In the next second, the arrows that filled the sky suddenly trembled and stopped in midair. Seeing this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. Then, he saw the arrows that had stopped in midair tremble at the same time. Hum, hum, hum. After the dense buzzing sound, the 100,000 arrows that had stopped in midair were instantly covered by the golden light. At this moment, the 100,000 arrows that had stopped in midair suddenly stopped trembling. In the blink of an eye, the 100,000 arrows that had stopped in midair turned around and aimed at the thick fog. In the next second, the dense sound of something breaking through the air suddenly rang out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 100,000 arrows that had stopped in midair and turned around shot towards the thick fog at an even faster speed. After a short breath, the sound of arrows piercing into flesh instantly rang out in an incomparably dense manner. At this moment, a whirlpool suddenly appeared in the thick fog that was still rapidly flying towards Yi Chen. Then, the thick fog formed by the yellow springs rapidly decreased. After a few breaths, the thick fog in the sky disappeared, revealing the water spirit pearl floating in the sky, as well as an army of black robes and long halberds hundreds of meters away. Guo Yi, who was standing beside Yi Chen, was stunned when he saw this. Guo Yi never thought that Yi Chen would have a way to deal with the fog formed by the yellow springs. Otherwise, Guo Yi wouldn't have had such a drastic change in expression when he saw that the fog was formed by the yellow springs. He hurriedly advised Yi Chen to leave. Guo Yi's eyes brightened when he regained his composure. Then, he looked at Yi Chun with a face full of admiration. He bowed and said loudly, "My lord's ability is unparalleled in the world. I, Jia, am in admiration." Yi Chun's ability to take away the legendary yellow springs completely exceeded Guo Yi's expectations. It was also because of this that Guo Yi admired Yi Chun so much. One should know that the water of the yellow spring was not something good. Even the immortals would not dare to touch it. However, Yi Chun was able to take away the water of the yellow spring in such a simple and violent manner. How could Guo Yi not be moved? Sun Qing, Chun Kun, Tian Feng, and the other civil officials all smiled at this moment. Then, they followed Guo Yi and bowed. "It is the fortune of 3 lifetimes for us to be able to follow my lord." When Yi Chun heard this, he chuckled and nodded. Then, with a thought, the water spirit pearl floating in the air instantly flew to Yi Chun's side. Then, Yi Chun took it back into his Zifu. At this moment, the 100,000 black-armored soldiers that had appeared due to the disappearance of the fog suddenly split into 2. Then, a man wearing black armor and holding a black spear arrived in front of the 100,000 soldiers. He was riding a black warhorse whose hooves were emitting blue flames. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Guo Yi, Sun Qing, and Chun Kun civil officials all paled when they saw this. Just a moment ago, this army of 100,000 had been motionless and lifeless. Moreover, their bodies had been pierced by arrows. No matter how one looked at it, they were dead. But now this army of 100,000 had actually moved. Moreover, their movements were uniform, and they didn't seem injured at all. More importantly, there was a general riding a strange warhorse walking out of the army. No matter how one looked at it, this scene did not seem normal. How could Yi Chun's subordinates not be startled? After a brief moment of shock, Guo Yi's eyes flew open, and he activated the eye of the demon god once more. A second later, Guo Yi's expression sank. He hurriedly looked at Yi Chun and bowed. "My lord, this army of 100,000 is not alive. If Jia is not wrong, they should be zombies." Feng Xiao is right. Yi Chun nodded his head and said after hearing this. In truth, when the fog dissipated and the army of 100,000 was revealed several hundred meters away, Yi Chun had already confirmed this answer. If this had been before the opening of the underground secret realm, Yi Chun might have been shocked by the appearance of this army of 100,000 zombies. After all, in the underground secret realm of his previous life, Qin Shi Huang had placed terracotta soldiers in the underground palace, not zombies. But now, Yi Chun wouldn't be shocked by the appearance of this army of 100,000 zombies. This was because as soon as Yi Chun entered the secret realm, he realized that the underground secret realm of this life was unusual. Moreover, Yi Chun had also confirmed one thing from these unusual places. That was, the underground secret realm of this life was more dangerous than the underground secret realm of his previous life. It was at least 100 times more dangerous. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a poison that could even kill a mortal evolution state before entering the secret realm. Moreover, there wouldn't be a thick fog formed by the water of the yellow spring right after entering the secret realm. "My lord, should we mobilize the Samsara Legion here?" Zhao Yun, who was standing in front of Yi Chun, heard this and couldn't help but be taken aback. He quickly turned around and bowed. Zhao Yun said this not because Zhao Yun was afraid of anything, but because he was concerned about Yi Chun's safety. One must know that Zhao Yun had never seen a zombie before, but he knew that zombies weren't something that should exist in the mortal world. Even a saint-level general might not be able to deal with such an existence. If they wanted to eliminate these 100,000 zombies, the best way was to mobilize the Samsara Legion and use the White Tiger Formation or the Vermilion Bird Formation to directly destroy this army of 100,000 zombies. After all, Zhao Yun had personally witnessed the ferocity of the White Tiger Formation and the Vermilion Bird Formation. It was precisely because of this consideration that Zhao Yun asked Yi Chun if he wanted to mobilize the Samsara Legion. After all, Yi Chun's safety was what Zhao Yun was most concerned about. He didn't want Yi Chun to come to any harm in the secret realm of the underground palace. After hearing Zhao Yun's words of concern, Yi Chun smiled and said, "Currently, we can't send this secret realm into the secret realm of the underground palace. We can't send soldiers into this secret realm for the time being. Otherwise, it will only do more harm than good." As Zhao Yun had taken the initiative to open the secret realm of the underground palace, he didn't know that the soldiers could only enter after a blood sacrifice. Therefore, Yi Chun opened his mouth to explain. When Yi Chun finished speaking, Zhao Yun couldn't help but be taken aback. When Guo Yi saw this, he hurriedly explained the details to Zhao Yun. After hearing this, Zhao Yun nodded and then bowed to Yi Chun. "My lord, Yin requests for battle." Chapter 687. Guan Er, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Zhao Meng, Su Chu, Gan Ning, Zhang Liao, and the other generals turned around and bowed. When Yi Chun heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. He then looked at his subordinates and opened his mouth. The Pre-Qin general has the body of a zombie and is a bronze corpse comparable to a Violet Palace realm cultivator. Are you sure you want to fight him? Yun Zheng is the Lord's general and has been bestowed with the Green Lotus Sword Arts by the Lord. How can I not advance in battle? I beg the Lord's permission. When Zhao Yunzheng heard this, he bowed without hesitation. We are the same. We beg for Lord's permission. Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Gan Ning, Su Chu, and the other generals nodded and bowed. The moment the generals spoke, Gui Yi, who was at the side, glanced at the Pre-Qin general riding a strange black warhorse not far away. Then, he looked at Yi Chun and bowed. "Lord, according to the records, if the zombie race doesn't become a flying zombie, they can only use strength and corpse poison. They can't use magic arts. You have the treasures Lord has bestowed upon you, and you have cultivated the Azure Lotus Sword Art. You can definitely fight him." Yi Chun was silent for a moment and then waved his right hand. The cauldron of heaven and earth appeared. In the next second, Yi Chun's right hand made a grabbing motion toward the right hand of the generals. Zhao Yunzheng, Guan Er, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, and the other generals' armor left their bodies and flew toward the cauldron of heaven and earth. In the next second, the armor of the generals was sucked into the cauldron of heaven and earth. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the armor of the generals was strengthened into spiritual artifacts by the cauldron of heaven and earth. They flew out of the cauldron of heaven and earth and returned to the general's side. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San's eyes lit up when they saw this. They quickly caught the armor and dripped their blood on it to bind it to them. Previously, Yi Chun didn't think that there would be so many variables in the secret realm. So much so that Yi Chun didn't even think about upgrading the equipment of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Yu. After all, Yi Chun had already given them Dharma treasure level swords, and the power of Dharma treasures far exceeded that of spirit weapons. As for the armor, if the underground secret realm was still the same as it was in his previous life, it wouldn't be a problem whether it was enhanced or not. In his previous life, it was impossible for the terracotta soldiers and generals of the Qin dynasty to harm Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and the others. But now Yi Chun had no choice but to upgrade the equipment of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and the others. This was because they weren't facing the terracotta soldiers, but the zombie army. Moreover, the generals were zombies with the strength of Purple Mansion Realm. If they only used Dharma treasure level swords, it wouldn't be a big deal if they weren't injured. But if they were injured, they might be infected with corpse poison and turn into zombies. This wasn't the result that Yi Chun wanted to see. Therefore, when Yi Chun heard that Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er wanted to fight, he immediately took action and upgraded their equipment. As for their original weapons, there was no need to upgrade them. One had to know that the Green Lotus Sword Art was a chaos-level cultivation method. Its power was 100% greater than their original cultivation method. There was no need to lose the big picture for a small gain. When Yi Chun saw that Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San had put on their Dharma treasure level armors, he immediately spoke with a serious tone. The Pre-Qin generals are far stronger than all of you. There is no need to fight them one-on-one. All of you can fight them together. However, You must remember that the corpse poison is no small matter. Do not overexert yourself. Yes, my lord. When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San heard this, their eyes lit up. Then they all bowed and saluted loudly. At this moment, a Pre-Qin general rode out from the Pre-Qin army. He pointed his black spear at Yi Chun and shouted, "Are you done? Are you done wasting time? If you're done, then hurry up and accept your death." When Yi Chun heard this, he narrowed his eyes and slapped the air with his right hand without hesitation. Boom! A loud sound was heard. A huge hand that covered the sky appeared out of thin air and slapped towards the Pre-Qin general who was shouting at Yi Chun. The Pre-Qin general, who was originally powerful and domineering, saw the huge hand that covered the sky, and his expression immediately changed. He then shouted angrily, "Who are you? How can you break free from the restrictions of this world?" As soon as the Pre-Qin general finished speaking, the huge hand that covered the sky instantly descended. Boom! The Pre-Qin general and his strange warhorse were instantly slapped into the ground. Nay, after the mournful whine of the warhorse sounded, a cloud of dust rose from where the Pre-Qin general had been. When he saw this, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. Then he waved his right hand, and the Godslayer appeared in an instant. In the next second, the space in front of Yi Chun suddenly distorted. At the same time, Yi Chun stabbed the Godslayer in his right hand into the distorted space. Puchi! A sound was heard. The Godslayer violently stabbed into the strange warhorse's head. Then, with a flash of black light, the warhorse's soul was instantly devoured. At this moment, a deafening roar suddenly came from the ground. Despicable and shameless. When Yi Chun heard this, he sneered coldly. Motherfucker, even my subordinates don't have warhorses. Not to mention you have a warhorse. It's even a freaking Violet Palace Realm warhorse. And it's even a Violet Palace Realm Copper Corpse. If I don't kill your warhorse, wouldn't my subordinates suffer a calamity? When he thought of this, Yi Chun directly looked at his subordinates and shouted, "Listen up. All of you, listen to my orders. That person has a foul mouth. Cut off his dog head." When Zhao Yun, Guan Er, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, Su Chu, and the others heard this, their eyes suddenly widened. Then, they looked at Yi Chun and bowed loudly. "Yes, my lord." After Zhao Yunzheng, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and the others finished speaking, they turned around and strode towards the Pre-Qin general. Not long after, they arrived within 10 meters of the Pre-Qin general who had been slapped into the ground. When the Pre-Qin general saw Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, and Guan Er stop, he glanced at Yi Chun with a gloomy face. Then he pointed the black spear in his right hand at Zhao Yun, Guan Er, and Zhang San and shouted, "Come on, come and report your names. Under my spear, no nameless ghosts will remain. Reincarnation, Immortal City, under the command of the great general of Agile Cavalry, Zhao Yunzheng. Zhao Yunzheng. Reincarnation, Immortal City, under the command of the great general of Agile Cavalry, Dian Xiong. Reincarnation, Immortal City, under the command of the great general of Agile Cavalry, Guan Er, Guan Yunchang." When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Su Chu, and the others heard this, they all sneered and shouted loudly. When the Pre-Qin general felt the disdain of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San, he flew into a rage. Then his eyes widened and he shouted angrily, "I'm Meng Tan, under the command of the first emperor of the great Qin dynasty." Chapter 688. When Zhao Yun, Guan Er, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, and the others heard this, they all pointed their swords at Meng Tian and shouted, "Under the orders of our lord, we're here to take your head." After Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and the others finished speaking, the green lotus sword arts started to circulate, and their Xiantian true chi started to surge. Then, they all slashed their swords at Meng Tian. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Dozens of sounds broke through the air. Dozens of cyan sword chi appeared in an instant and quickly cut towards Meng Tian's neck. When Meng Tian saw the dozens of cyan sword chi coming at him, he disdainfully curled his lips and shouted, "All of you die?" After Meng Tian shouted, he stomped on the ground with his right foot and rushed toward Zhao Yun. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Zhao Yun. His speed was extremely fast. At the same time, the black spear in Meng Tian's right hand fiercely smashed toward Zhao Yun. He had no intention of dodging the cyan sword chi. Slash, slash, slash. Dozens of sounds were heard. Meng Tian's neck was cut into dozens of small wounds in an instant. Traces of black blood flowed out from the wounds on Meng Tian's neck. At the same time, the black spear in Meng Tian's right hand fiercely smashed toward Zhao Yun's head. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The great black spear smashed into the ground. As for Zhao Yunjing's body, it was split into two by the great black spear. After that, it disappeared. Meng Tian, who had just revealed a proud smile, instantly froze. At this moment, the sharp sound of breaking through the air was heard again. Slash, slash, slash. Dozens of cyan sword chi appeared again and quickly cut towards Meng Tian's neck. It was Guan Er, Zhang San, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, Su Chu, and the others who once again waved their swords and attacked Meng Tian with sword chi. Sensing this, Meng Tian sneered. Then he shouted explosively, "That's right. Chu-chu ants! How dare you compete with the sun and moon? Die!" Following Meng Tian's explosive shout, the black spear was raised up by Meng Tian with a woo sound and then swept horizontally towards Guan Er, Zhang San, Dian Xiong, and the others. Pung pung pung. After several sounds, Guan Er, Zhang San, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, Su Chu, and the others were like Zhao Yun, instantly swept by the black great spear from the middle, splitting them into two halves and disappearing. In the distance, Yi Chun, who had been watching the battle all this time and was ready to make a move at any moment, nodded in satisfaction when he saw this. Not bad, not bad. Who would have thought that Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er would have mastered the Green Lotus Sword spell's teleportation technique? The teleportation technique in the Green Lotus Sword spell actually meant that after releasing the sword chi, the body could appear at the location of the sword chi at any time, and then make the attacks aimed at the body miss. And this was the fundamental reason why Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er seemed to have been hit by Meng Tian, but were not injured at all. Just as Yi Chun thought up to here, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Su Chu, and Zhang Liao all looked at each other and then nodded together. In the next second, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, and Su Chu all pointed the long swords in their right hands forward and then let go, pointing the sword fingers of their right hands forward. At the same time, the long swords that everyone threw out all stopped in front of them, with the sword hilts facing backwards and the sword tips facing forwards, and then started to spin rapidly. Wang. In the next second, green lotuses suddenly appeared under the feet of the generals. At the same time, a mysterious and sharp aura suddenly rose from the green lotuses and then enveloped the generals. Not far away, Yi Chun, who saw Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er's actions, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Green Lotus Sword Controlling Art. Just as Yi Chun thought up to here, he saw that Meng Tian's attack had missed, and he turned around with a gloomy expression. When Meng Tian saw Zhao Yun, Guan Er, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, Su Chu, and Gao Shun's long sword spinning faster and faster in front of them, his eyes suddenly shrank. How could this be? In this instant, Meng Tian felt a threat from death. Meng Tian had felt this feeling before, when Yi Chun had stabbed his warhorse to death. Although Meng Tian was very shocked and didn't understand, Meng Tian was very sure that Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er were no threat to him at all. Even if Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er's sword chi had injured him, it would only have broken his skin a little, and there was no need to worry about it all. But now, those rapidly spinning long swords that could shoot over at any time gave Meng Tian a feeling of death. For Meng Tian, who had always thought that he could sweep through all martial generals outside of the secret realm, this was a huge blow to him. In this world, it's fine if there's one existence that can injure me, But how can there be so many of them? I don't believe it. Thinking up to here, Meng Tian's eyes suddenly widened, and then he roared, I am Meng Tian of the Great Qin. You are all small fries, and yet you dare to covet my Great Qin's treasures. If you don't stretch out your necks and accept your death, what are you waiting for? After Meng Tian roared, he directly charged towards Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er. Kill! When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San saw this, their right-hand sword fingers pointed forward, and then they roared loudly. As soon as they finished speaking, more than 10 magic treasure long swords instantly vibrated and then quickly shot out, instantly rushing towards Meng Tian, who was rushing over after the roar. Meng Tian's speed was extremely fast, and he held the black spear in his right hand at an angle. In the blink of an eye, he was 10 meters in front of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er. However, Meng Tian immediately stopped, and the black spear that was originally held at an angle fiercely smashed towards the magic treasure longswords that were rapidly shooting towards him. Meng Tian gave up on the idea of forcibly blocking the magic treasure longswords, because the sense of danger in his heart suddenly became even stronger. Meng Tian was very unwilling to believe this feeling, because he was facing a group of ants. However, this feeling was too real, and even his heart, which had not trembled for hundreds of years, suddenly started to beat violently at this moment. It was also because of this that Meng Tian gave up on the idea of continuing forward and attacking Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er. He then stopped and blocked the magic treasure longswords that were rapidly shooting towards him. Kacha! 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 After several violent sounds of weapons being cut apart rang out, Meng Tian's black spear was instantly cut into pieces. Meng Tian, who was aware of this, suddenly narrowed his eyes. At this moment, Meng Tian finally confirmed that the sense of danger was not illusory, but real, and the source was these flying longswords that were rapidly shooting towards him. After regaining his senses, Meng Tian directly roared, Who the hell are you? Why do you have such weapons? As soon as Meng Tian's words fell, several sounds of weapons piercing through bodies instantly rang out. Poochie! 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 Several magic treasure longswords that were rapidly spinning directly pierced through Meng Tian's body, and then flew straight into the sky. When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Su Chu, and the others saw this, they looked at each other, and then simultaneously looked at Meng Tian and shouted, Kill! As soon as the voice fell, the sword arrived. After more than 10 slashing sounds, Meng Tian's head was instantly cut off, and then a long sword directly pierced through his head. In the blink of an eye, the long sword brought Meng Tian's head to Zhao Yun's side, and then Zhao Yun caught it in his hand. In the distance, Yi Chun, who saw this scene, nodded with satisfaction. At this moment, the system's notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun and Zhao Yun for successfully challenging a higher-level opponent. As the challenged person belongs to the zombie clan, Zhao Yun is specially rewarded with the title of Divine General. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun and Dian Xiong for successfully challenging a higher-level opponent. As the challenged person belongs to the zombie clan, Dian Xiong is specially rewarded with the title of Divine General. After more than 10 system notifications ended, Yi Chun could not help but be stunned. Divine General. What kind of situation was this? Thinking of this, Yi Chun could not help but look at the status panel of Zhao Yun and the others. When Yi Chun saw the status of the Divine General title, his eyes suddenly lit up. Holy shit, I've struck gold this time. Divine General, special title. The owner can ignore the restrictions of the laws of heaven and earth on cultivation in a low-level world, and can unleash 100% of his strength. Has a suppressive effect on demons. Chapter 689. The attributes of a divine general title didn't seem like much, but it was what Yi Chun needed the most at this moment. The reason was very simple. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Su Chu, Gao Shun, and the others only needed a little experience to be able to ignore the restriction of unable to advance to the mortal evolution state in this world and directly advance to the mortal evolution state in this world. Of course, this was nothing. After all, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and the others could also break through to the mortal evolution state in the real world. The reason why Yi Chun was so happy was because Zhao Yunzheng, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Su Chu, and the others, who had the title of Heaven General, will be able to unleash 100% of their power in the novice region of the Three Kingdoms after reaching the mortal evolution state. To be precise, the seal that was supposed to be applied to Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San in the novice region was completely ineffective after they broke through to the mortal evolution state. In this way, Zhao Yunzheng, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and the others will be able to display their full strength when leading their troops in a battle. One by one, they will be able to kill a large number of enemies. This was the first benefit of a divine general title, and it wasn't the most important. To be precise, the most important benefit of a divine general title was that it had a suppressive effect on demons. This attribute was like adding wings to a tiger for Yi Chun who wanted to fight against the demon race. One must know that after ascending to the Primordial era, Yi Chun's army was 100% on the weaker side when facing the demon race. If they had the suppressive effect, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and the others could rely on the green lotus sword art that Yi Chun gave them and good equipment to challenge those of a higher level and kill stronger demons. On the other hand, how could this not be good news for Yi Chun who was determined to walk the path of Emperor Dao? When luck came, it couldn't be stopped. Yi Chun didn't expect that the completely changed underground palace secret realm would bring him such great benefits right from the start. Not bad. Not bad. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, Meng Tian, whose head had been pierced by a long sword, suddenly opened his scarlet eyes and roared. All of you die. Yi Chun, who had been observing the battle all this time, straightened the sword fingers on his right hand and activated the army formula. At this moment, the sword in Zhao Yun's hand that was holding Meng Tian's head flew up into the sky. Boom! A loud sound was heard. Meng Tian's head instantly exploded, and black smoke filled the sky. At this moment, Zhao Yun's magic treasure-level long sword also exploded into countless pieces and splashed in all directions. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. On the ground, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Su Chu, Gao Shun, and Zhang Liao's expressions changed when they saw this scene. Right at this time, Yi Chun waved his left hand, and the space in front of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and the others distorted. Quickly come over. The moment Yi Chun's words fell, Zhao Yunzheng, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and the rest hurried into the hall. In a breath's time, they were already beside Yi Chun. At this moment, Gui Yi, who was next to Yi Chun, retracted his gaze from the black smoke in the sky and quickly bowed to Yi Chun. Lord, that black smoke is the poison of zombies. You must not touch it. When Yi Chun heard this, he nodded and said, I know. As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, the system notification suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for killing Pre-Chin General Meng Tian. Due to his special identity, player Yi Chun is rewarded with 108 attribute points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun and Zhao Yun for successfully reaching the mortal evolution state. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun and Dian Xiong for successfully reaching the mortal evolution state. As soon as the system notification ended, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Su Chu, and the others emitted the light of advancement one after another. Then, everyone's aura instantly skyrocketed. Seeing this, Yi Chun raised his eyebrows. At this moment, the world notification suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for being the first to kill the Pre-Chin General Meng Tian. Due to his status as a Violet Palace Realm zombie, player Yi Chun is specially rewarded with innate attribute points X100 and Immortal Pet Advancement Scroll X3. The world notification was repeated 3 times, instantly causing the entire world channel to explode. F asterisk CK. F asterisk CK. Purple Mansion State Zombie. F asterisk CK. That underground secret realm has a Purple Mansion State boss, and it's even a zombie. Brother, do you know what a zombie is? Of course, haven't you seen the zombie movies in the past? They're invulnerable and specialize in sucking blood. They're so F asterisk king awesome. F asterisk CK. That's not the main point, okay? The main point is that the boss in this underground secret realm is too high level. F asterisk CK, Purple Mansion State. Aren't we going to die if we go in? What's there to be afraid of? The higher the level, the easier it is to drop good equipment. Didn't you guys see the world notification when Yichin killed a boss? That's right. What's there to be afraid of? Let's go together. We'll just attack together, and each of us can grind the boss to death. Moreover, there's not only a boss there. Stop wasting time. I'm already at Mount Lee, and Yichin's army is guarding outside the underground secret realm. They didn't attack me. Let me try and see if I can enter first. What's there to try? I'm already in the cave. Yichin didn't ask his army to stop us, but let me give you a piece of advice. Don't go near Yichin's army, or you'll be killed. There was an idiot who saw that Yichin's army didn't move and wanted to act cool. He went over to take a look and was stabbed to death. F asterisk CK. I like this result, but I have to prepare some black dog blood, black donkey hooves, some glutinous rice, a peachwood sword or something. Otherwise, we won't be able to defeat them. F asterisk CK, you reminded me. I'll go prepare as well. I'll go too. The world channel was in an uproar, and it was constantly being updated. Yichin took a look and pondered for a moment. Then, with a thought, the fire spirit pearl instantly appeared in front of Yichin. Taking a look at the fire spirit pearl, Yichin raised his hand and pointed at the fire spirit pearl. Buzz! A sound was heard. After the fire spirit pearl shook violently, it instantly exploded into a sea of fire. In the blink of an eye, the sea of fire rushed down and enveloped Yichin and Yichin's subordinates. At this moment, the 100,000 Preaching zombie army raised their bows and aimed at Yichin's group. Foam! Foam! To foam. Chants rang out instantly. Then, a sky full of pitch-black arrows shot towards Yichin at high speed. When Yichin saw this, he smiled coldly. His right hand's sword fingers straightened, and the Bing word art was activated again. At this moment, the sky full of arrows that had just risen to the sky suddenly stopped in mid-air, motionless. Just as Yichin was about to use the fire spirit pearl to add flames to the 100,000 arrows, a huge white light appeared behind Yichin. Sensing this, Yichin waved his right hand and led his subordinates to fly up into the sky. In the next second, Yichin's left hand clapped in the air. The 100,000 arrows shot by the zombie army instantly changed direction and shot towards the zombie army. Chapter 690. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The dense sound of arrows piercing through the air resounded through the sky. In the next second, the sound of arrows piercing through flesh could be heard. Poochie, poochie, poochie. The 100,000 zombie army was instantly pierced through by the arrows. However, none of them died. In midair, Yichin, who was leading his men into the sky, saw this scene. With a thought, an invisible wave appeared and enveloped Yichin and Yichin's men. In an instant, Yichin and Yichin's men, who were originally engulfed in flames, suddenly disappeared without a trace. The moment Yichin and Yichin's men disappeared, a large group of players appeared in the secret dungeon. In the next second, the players who entered the secret dungeon were all stunned. Then, there was an uproar. F asterisk CK. There are so many zombie soldiers. F asterisk CK. Can someone tell me why zombies know how to arrange troops? Look, these zombie soldiers seem to be heavily injured. F asterisk CK. It's true. Hee hee. Now it's easy to kill them. Don't be ridiculous. These zombie soldiers must have been attacked by Yichin. How dare you steal Yichin's monsters? The problem is, Yichin isn't here. Where's Yichin? Didn't the world announcement say that he killed Meng Tian? Why isn't Yichin here? How the F asterisk CK would I know? But this is better. Yichin isn't here. This means that Yi Chun doesn't care about these zombies. This is good for us. That's right. However, I think we should wait for those with black dog blood, black donkey hooves, and glutinous rice peach with swords to come. It's best for us to attack then. I think so too. F***CK, these are big dumplings. They're not that easy to kill. F***CK, running too fast isn't a good thing. Let's wait. We're not in a hurry. Just as the players were discussing amongst themselves, the black smoke from Meng Tian's self-destruction quickly surged towards the player army. Noticing this abnormal change, some of the players began to retreat cautiously, some ignored it directly, and some became cautious. When the black smoke came into contact with the players who ignored the black smoke, nothing abnormal happened. Noticing this, the players who were vigilant and alert immediately relaxed. This was because no one had lost any HP and no one had any negative statuses. As time passed, the white light continued to shine in the secret dungeon. More and more players rushed into the secret dungeon. 10 minutes later, the players were still discussing this and that, and nothing out of the ordinary happened. In midair, Yi Chun, who was in stealth mode with his subordinates, frowned when he saw that the players on the ground were fine after inhaling the black smoke. Meng Tian was a purple mansion rail zombie. Even I wouldn't be able to withstand his corpse poison. How could the players on the ground be fine? Yi Chun didn't have much contact with zombies in his previous life, but Yi Chun knew how overpowering the poison of zombies was. To be precise, once one was infected with the poison of zombies, if one didn't have any special medicine or treasure to dispel the poison, there was only one outcome: being infected by the poison of zombies and becoming a zombie. But on the ground, the players who came into contact with the poison of zombies from Meng Tian's self-destruction didn't show any signs of abnormality, even after a while. This was beyond Yi Chun's expectations. Could it be? Just as Yi Chun thought of this, the players on the ground started coughing one after another. Then, the coughing sound became louder and louder. In just a few breaths, the players started to bend over and cough up blood. Then, their eyes turned red, and saliva flowed out of their mouths. In the next second, waves of roars suddenly rang out. Roar, roar, roar. The players on the ground lifted their heads and roared at the sky. Then, their ash-white faces, scarlet eyes, ferocious fangs, and long, black claws were revealed. Yi Chun, who was observing the ground from midair, was enlightened when he saw this scene. Damn, this poison of zombies was really sick. After being infected, there wasn't much of a reaction. Once it acted up, it would explode. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, the players on the ground who were infected by the poison of zombies from Meng Tian's self-destruction waved their sharp claws and attacked the players who weren't infected. In an instant, the players who weren't infected were enraged. Damn, what's wrong with these bastards? Why do they look so weird? Weird, my ass. These idiots have all become zombies. Damn. Stop wasting time. Hurry up and attack. Where's the black dog's blood? Where's the black donkey's hooves? Hurry up and use them. The players spoke one after another and fought with the zombified players. It was a lively scene. Yi Chun, who was observing the ground from midair, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he saw this scene. Kill, kill with all your might. Once we gather enough fresh blood for the blood sacrifice and remove the curse of the underground palace, I can send my soldiers in. When my soldiers come in, I wonder if they can become heavenly soldiers. If they can, that would be awesome. Yi Chun suddenly thought of something and hurriedly said to it, Feng Xiao, pay attention to the underground palace. Feng Xiao, pay attention. Once the curse in the underground secret realm is lifted, notify me immediately. Yi Chun couldn't send his soldiers in because of the strange curse of the underground palace. Although Yi Chun was prepared to use the lives of the players to remove the strange curse of the underground palace, Yi Chun didn't want the players to shed too much blood in the underground palace. After all, Emperor Qin was waiting for the players to contribute their blood. Yi Chun didn't want Emperor Qin to obtain enough blood and ascend with the millions of pre-Qin zombies. Of course, Yi Chun had no choice but to ask Yi to pay attention to the strange curse of the underground palace. After all, Yi Chun's divine sense was greatly suppressed in the underground palace. Moreover, he couldn't detect the strange curse of the underground palace. Otherwise, Yichen wouldn't have asked Guo Yi to pay attention to it. Guo Yi hurriedly bowed and said, "Yes. Yes, my lord." When Yichen heard this, he nodded. Then, he looked at the army of 100,000 standing motionlessly not far away. After the players entered, they stopped attacking. Was it intentional? Or was it an order? Or was it because they were waiting for more and more players to die? Yichen couldn't help but frown when he thought of this. In this underground palace, the preaching terracotta soldiers turned into zombies, and a purple mansion realm zombie general appeared. There shouldn't be any special changes to Emperor Qin. He still needed a large amount of blood to be reborn. Otherwise, he could have ascended to the untainted land with the millions of preaching zombies when I opened the secret realm in the underground palace. Yichen stopped paying attention to the 100,000 zombie army. Yichen wanted to release his divine sense. Unfortunately, Yichen's divine sense was greatly suppressed in the underground palace. Otherwise, Yichen would have used his divine sense to check on Emperor Qin. As time passed, the battle between the players and the zombified players became more and more intense. The players were constantly killed and lost their lives in the underground palace. As for the zombified players, although they relied on the undying ability of zombies and suffered minimal casualties, they were still being killed constantly. This was because Black Dog's blood, Black Donkey's hooves, Peachwood swords, glutinous rice, and other exorcism items could cause damage to the zombies. However, as time passed, the number of zombified players didn't decrease. Instead, there were more and more of them. This was because the corpses of the dead players stood up one by one and joined in the attack on the players. Not long after, the world channel exploded. Mother F***, we can't kill them all. There are more and more of them. F***CK. The more we fight, the more zombies there are. How are we supposed to fight? Whoever dies will become a zombie. Whoever is injured will become a zombie too. This is F***king insane. We haven't killed a single zombie in the underground palace yet. What's there to kill? The zombies in the underground palace didn't even attack. I don't want to go anymore. F***ck. This underground palace is too insane. Brothers, don't worry. The main force will be here soon. Hang in there. What's there to be afraid of? Yichen won't stop us from entering the underground palace. This is such a good opportunity. Whether we can get something good will depend on this. Don't be afraid. F***ck. Killing a zombie will give us a lot of EXP. We'll even get good equipment. Ha ha. Ha ha. Don't be afraid. Let's do it. Yichen, who was watching from midair, glanced at the bustling world channel and couldn't help but smile. Just as he was about to add exorcism runes to their weapons, the main force of the players arrived. Among Yichen's chaos runes, there was an exorcism rune that was specially used to restrain evil spirits. If this rune was added to weapons, it would cause tons of damage to the zombies. Previously, Yichen didn't give it to Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guaner, and the others because Yichen wanted to let his subordinates experience the combat power of the zombies. At the same time, they could gain some experience fighting against higher-level powerhouses. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that Yichen needed the players to die and break the strange curse in the underground palace. It was also because of this that Yichen thought of adding exorcism runes to the weapons of the players when he realized that the players in the underground palace were becoming more and more unwilling to fight. But now there was no need for that because the main force of the players had arrived. Chapter 691. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the underground secret realm lit up with bright lights. In just a few breaths of time, the underground secret realm had more than 1 million players. Their arrival instantly gave the players who wanted to leave the secret realm the courage to do so. In an instant, battle cries filled the air. Black dog blood, glutinous rice, peachwood swords, and black donkey hooves flew everywhere. The players who had turned into zombies were killed in droves. Soon, they were all wiped out. Just as the players stopped and were about to discuss how to deal with the 100,000 zombies, the 100,000 zombies who had been standing still suddenly started to draw their bows. In mid-air, Yichen, who was observing the situation on the ground, looked at Gua-E beside him and asked, Phone, what happened? How's the situation with the curse? My lord, the curse in the underground secret realm has only been weakened by 10%. Another 900,000 players should be enough. When Gua-E heard Yi Chen's question, he hurriedly used the eye of the demon god to check the underground secret realm. Then, he bowed to Yi Chen and reported. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded and said, When the curse is lifted. Tell me as soon as the curse is lifted. Yes, my lord. When Gua-E heard this, he hurriedly bowed and replied. At this moment, a loud roar sounded from the 100,000 zombies. Foam! 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 As soon as the roar sounded, arrows were released from their bows. In the blink of an eye, 100,000 arrows were shot towards the players. At this moment, waves of angry curses rang out from the player army. Damn it, these zombies can talk. F***CK, I didn't bring my shield. Get out of the way. F***CK, don't block my way. The messy army of players pushed each other as they tried to get out of the range of the arrows in a panic. However, there were too many of them. It was wishful thinking to get out of the range of the arrows in a short period of time. In the next second, 100,000 arrows descended. Then, the players were pierced by the arrows. Some of them even turned into porcupines. At the same time, the sound of arrows piercing flesh was heard. Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. Yi Chen, who was watching from midair, couldn't help but frown when he saw this. According to the previous attack trajectory of the zombie army, I should be within the range of the arrows, but this time, the arrows actually avoided me. Could it be? Thinking of this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. Qin Shihuang's subordinates were observing this place, and had even given orders to the zombie army of 100,000. Damn, it must be like this. Meng Tian is already dead, but the army of 100,000 zombies doesn't show the slightest bit of disorder. If there is no one commanding them, it is impossible for such a situation to occur. At the thought of this, Yi Chen looked directly at the army of 100,000 zombies. However, in Yi Chen's line of sight, apart from the army of 100,000 zombies, there was only an unusually grand city. Other than that, there was nothing else. With his divine sense suppressed, he could only detect things within 10 meters of him. Since that was the case, thinking of this, Yi Chen raised his right hand and then bent his fingers to draw a talisman in the air. In that instant, a golden dot of light appeared directly under Yi Chen's finger. Then, as Yi Chen's finger moved, it rapidly drew out one mysterious golden talisman after another. The instant Yi Chen stopped, his eyes widened, and he shouted in a low voice, Heaven's Eye! As soon as Yi Chen's words fell, the golden talisman floating in the air was instantly reflected in Yi Chen's eyes. Then, two rays of golden light, filled with a mysterious aura, emerged from Yi Chen's eyes. At this time, the zombie army's second wave of attacks descended, directly taking away the lives of 60 to 70,000 players. Miserable howls, angry curses, and wild roars rose and fell, one after another, resounding throughout the underground secret realm. However, Yi Chen directly ignored them and looked directly at the army of 100,000 zombies. When Yi Chen's gaze swept over the army of 100,000 zombies, a man wearing white clothes and a long sword at his waist appeared in Yi Chen's line of sight. Soul body as expected. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, the white-clothed man, whom Yi Chen had locked onto, suddenly raised his head and looked in Yi Chen's direction. After a faint smile, he clasped his fists towards Yi Chen. When Yi Chen saw this, his eyes widened. An immortal foundation ghost king. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, the world chat suddenly flooded with messages. F***CK. What's going on? Why are there zombies outside Mount Lee? And there are so many of them? F***CK. How would this daddy know what's going on? The resurrection point is full of zombies. F***CK. If you're injured by these zombies, you'll also become one. Everyone, be careful. Who cares why? Just kill them. In any case, there's experience and equipment. F***CK. Big news. I felt that something was wrong just now, so I went offline to take a look. The person living next door to me has become a zombie. I chopped off his head. Me too. When we attacked him, he woke up. We fought for a while before he died. Now, we've burned his corpse. F***CK, Brothers of Sky Dragon City, get the hell back here. If anyone dares to stay in the secret realm, this daddy will guarantee that they won't live past today. All of you, listen up. No matter who you are, as long as you're living in this daddy's royal girl town, get the hell out of the secret realm. If you haven't gone, no one is allowed to go to Mount Lee. Everyone in Black Tiger Town, if you want to stay with this daddy, hurry up and leave the secret realm. This daddy will only say this once. If you don't listen, don't blame this daddy for being impolite. The world chat was in an uproar. When Yichin saw this, he frowned. At this moment, a strong sense of conspiracy appeared in Yichin's heart. Yichin didn't like this feeling. However, it really appeared in Yichin's heart. F***CK. The infected players actually became zombies in real life. F***CK. This move of Qin Shi Huang's is really vicious. Is he trying to speed up the process of obtaining blood so that he could be reborn? Or is he trying to force me to leave the secret realm to resolve this disaster? Or is it both? No matter which it is, don't even think about succeeding. This daddy won't do anything stupid like bemoaning the state of the universe. Thinking of this, Yichin smiled coldly. Then, with a wave of his right hand, a magical longsword appeared in his hand. He then passed it to Zhao Yun. At this moment, Gui, who had been observing the curse of the secret realm, quickly retracted his gaze and bowed to Yichin. My lord, the curse of the secret realm has been lifted. Yichin nodded when he heard this. Then, with a wave of his right hand, 100 distorted spaces suddenly appeared on the ground. Yichin glanced at the 100 distorted spaces and shouted, Let's go. All of you come in. Yes, my lord. With a shout, 100,000 White Horse Guards and 510,000 Samsara Legion quickly charged into the distorted spaces and appeared in the secret realm of the underground palace. The appearance of the White Horse Guards and the Samsara Legion instantly silenced the noisy player army. Yichin glanced at the army that had entered the secret realm of the underground palace. Then, his right hand began to draw runes in the air. A gigantic exorcism rune instantly appeared in the sky and then shattered with a boom. In the next second, densely packed miniature versions of the exorcism rune flew directly to the weapons of his subordinates and the 610,000 soldiers on the ground. After Yichin finished drawing the exorcism rune, he didn't stop. His right index finger moved again, and gigantic protection runes appeared one after another. Then, just like the exorcism rune, they shattered and turned into countless miniature versions of the protection, runes that flew directly to his subordinates. After all of his subordinates were covered with 10 layers of protection runes, Yichin led Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gui, and Guan Er to the ground. When Yichin, Zhao Yunzheng, Dian Xiong, Gui, Guan Er, Zhang San, and the others appeared, the surrounding players were stupefied. Gosh, Yichin has been here all this time. What's going on? Why is Yichin just watching? Keep your voice down. Aren't you afraid that Yichin will kill you? Just as the players were discussing, Yichin looked at Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Gui and shouted, Time is tight. I'm going to force a breakthrough. Don't let a single zombie escape. Yes, Lord. Lord. Zhao Yunzheng, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Gui, and the others bowed in unison. Hearing this, Yichin nodded. With a wave of his right hand, the black and thick god-slaying spear appeared instantly. In the next second, Yichin's eyes suddenly widened and he shouted, What? Vermilion bird formation. Chapter 692. As soon as Yichin finished his words, the 510,000 soldiers of the Samsara Legion raised their spears and shouted in unison, Kill! 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 In the next second, an intense, murderous aura exploded. At the same time, the fire spirit, orb floating in the sky, suddenly shook. A sea of fire appeared in the sky and engulfed the Samsara Legion. In the next second, the intense, murderous aura shot up into the sky along with the blazing flames on the Samsara Legion. At the same time, the Samsara Legion disappeared. In the sky, the sea of fire in the underground palace's secret realm began to gather and then extended and changed shape. After a few breaths of time, a fiery red bird with raging flames all over its body appeared in the sky. It was an incomparably enchanting bird. The players, who were shocked and enraged by the sudden appearance of Yi Chun and his Samsara City army, stared at the giant flying beast in the sky with their mouths agape. What is that? Didn't you hear Yi Chun mention the vermilion bird battle formation? It must be the vermilion bird. Damn it, it shouldn't be. Yi Chun can summon divine beasts? What's so strange about it? Someone mentioned it on the World Channel before, but this is the first time I've seen it. It's really insane. On the ground, Yi Chun glanced at the vermilion bird in the sky and then charged into the sea of fire, disappearing in an instant. The moment Yi Chun disappeared, the vermilion bird opened its eyes. Its scarlet, blazing eyes that could burn everything appeared in the underground palace's secret realm. At the same time, the raging flames around the vermilion bird were like boiling water, recklessly boiling, and the air around it crackled as it burned. A long cry that had been heard for a long time suddenly sounded. It was like a space-time blade that cut across the past and present. In the next second, the vermilion bird's scarlet eyes looked straight at the army of 100,000 zombies. Right at this moment, the expression of the man in soul form abruptly changed. Then he explosively shouted, "Retreat." After saying that, he turned into a white light and disappeared in a flash. It was obvious that the man had sensed the vermilion bird's power. Otherwise, he would not have given such an order and would not have fled immediately. In the sky, Yi Chun, who was in charge of the vermilion bird battle formation, sneered when he heard the man's words. Then, a thought flashed through his mind. In the next second, the vermilion bird flapped its wings and pounced straight at the army of 100,000 zombies. A red light flashed and disappeared. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions sounded in an instant. Then, the 100,000 zombie army that was just about to leave was ignited in an instant. Then, they started to burn intensely. In the next second, angry roars rang out in waves. Roar, roar, roar. The army of 100,000 zombies, without exception, let out heaven-shaking roars. They frantically slapped away the flames on their bodies, and some even fell to the ground and rolled back and forth. They couldn't feel pain, but they could feel death coming their way. The vermilion bird flames on their bodies were the flames that led them to their deaths. However, no matter how they slapped and tried to put out the fire, it was useless. The vermilion bird's flames could not be extinguished. Burn, burn again. Boom, boom, boom. The army of 100,000 zombies that were ignited by the vermilion bird's flames quickly turned into 100,000 burning torches. In a few breaths, they turned into a pile of charcoal and no longer had any signs of life. The eyes of the player army widened when they saw this scene, and they couldn't help but shudder. The horrifying scene of the vermilion bird's attack was deeply ingrained in the souls of the players at this moment. After the sound of gasps, the vermilion bird that had just disappeared appeared on the ground in an instant. In the next second, the vermilion bird flapped its wings and turned into a ray of red light, charging directly at the city in the distance, where the army of the reincarnation immortal city was located. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Su Chu, Gan Ning, Zhang Liao, and the other generals looked at each other and nodded in unison. In the next second, Zhao Yun pointed at the city in the distance with the Dharma treasure sword in his right hand and roared, "Kill! Kill! Kill! Kill!" The 100,000 white horse soldiers raised the spiritual artifact spears in their hands and roared loudly, their voices shaking the sky. In the next second, the 100,000 white horse soldiers followed Zhao Yun and charged towards the city in the distance. Guan Er, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, Su Chu, Gao Shun, and the other generals brought Yi, Kai Yin, Chen Kun, and the other civil officials and followed behind Zhao Yun as they charged towards the city in the distance. Yi Chun and Yi Chen's subordinates had all left. The remaining players looked at each other and then reluctantly left the underground secret realm. They wanted to follow behind Yi Chun and reap the benefits, but they didn't dare to disobey their boss's orders. They also didn't want any accidents to happen and turn into zombies in the real world, although they subconsciously believed that as long as they weren't injured or killed by zombies, they wouldn't turn into zombies in the real world. However, they didn't dare to gamble. If an accident happened, they wouldn't be able to regret it. After all, after turning into a zombie, they didn't know if they would still have a soul or memories. No one was willing to gamble on this. However, at this moment, the World Channel, which had just been boiling with excitement, exploded. F***CK. We can't get out. Mother of **Cur. There's an invisible wall outside. We can't go through it at all. This is a F***king trap. A trap. Let me out. I want to get out. The World Channel was flooded with messages. Yi Chun, who was in the center of the vermilion bird, saw this and couldn't help but frown. Mother of **Cur. I was wondering why it felt wrong. So it was like this. There's no way out. What a good plan. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly widened. Then, he controlled the vermilion bird to fly towards the city in the distance and accelerated. However, after a few breaths, Yi Chun's face suddenly sank. No, this city was protected by an array. Otherwise, they would have already reached the city. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, Yi, Chen Kun, and Tian Feng, who were rushing towards the city with Bai Mai, looked at each other and nodded. In the next second, the three of them raised their hands and pointed in the air. Then they shouted, "Break the array!" Hum, hum, hum. After three loud noises, three ripples appeared in the originally calm sky. At this moment, Yi, Tian Feng, and Chen Kun's faces all turned red. Then, with a pu sound, they spat out a large mouthful of blood. At this moment, the sound of glass shattering could be heard in the sky. Crash! In the next second, the previously empty city wall was suddenly filled with zombie soldiers. In the sky, Yi Chun, who was controlling the vermilion bird battle array, saw this and let out a long sigh. Then he shouted, "Yun Chang, Dian Xiong, Ida, take good care of the three strategists. Don't make any mistakes." "Yes, Lord." Guan Er, Dian Xiong, and Zhang San heard Yi Chun's order and hurriedly responded loudly. Hearing this, Yi Chun took a deep breath. After letting out a long sigh, he controlled the vermilion bird battle array and charged towards the city with the signboard of Xianyang hanging on it. At this moment, on the city wall of Xianyang City, the soul that had just escaped the vermilion bird attack suddenly pulled out a long sword from its waist. Then, it pointed at the vermilion bird and coldly shouted, "Halt! Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy." Chapter 693. As soon as the spirit body man finished speaking, the zombie soldiers on the walls of Xianyang City drew their swords and pointed them at the rapidly approaching vermilion bird. In the sky, Yi Chun sneered when he heard the spirit body man's threat. Then, he roared, "Those who block me will die." Yi Chun's words were filled with violent killing intent. As soon as they landed, the vermilion bird, which was originally surrounded by fierce flames, suddenly burst into purple flames. In that instant, the air that had been distorted by the flames suddenly exploded. Boom! Waves of scorching heat waves appeared in an instant and swept out in all directions. On the walls of Xianyang City, the spirit body man's face sank when he saw this. In the next second, the spirit body man raised his sword and roared, "Killing sword domain. Kill! Kill! Kill!" Deafening shouts of killing instantly rang out from the zombie soldiers on the walls. In the next second, cold and violent killing intent rose up. In the blink of an eye, it gathered and attached itself to the sword in the spirit body man's right hand. In the sky, Yi Chun, who was controlling the vermilion bird battle formation, narrowed his eyes when he saw this. Killing sword domain, how is this possible? How could there be someone with a sword domain here? Moreover, it was one of the 10 great sword Daos, the killing sword domain. The sword Dao was one of the 3,000 great Daos. When it was cultivated to the extreme, it could prove one's Tao and become a saint. This process started from the sword intent, followed by the sword soul, then the sword domain, and finally the sword world. This process seemed simple, but to surpass, it was like a mortal ascending to the heavens. It was basically impossible. Of course, nothing was absolute. Geniuses in the Sword Tao had the chance to surpass the various tribulations of the Sword Tao and finally cultivate the Sword World. Once one cultivated the Sword World, as long as the opportunity was right, one could directly prove one's Tao and become a saint. Even if one's cultivation was not enough, one could still directly prove one's Tao and become a saint. This was the perverse part of the Sword Tao. As for what the spirit body man's sword domain represented, how could Yi Chun, who had been reborn, not know? It was because Yi Chun knew that he was so shocked. One had to know that even in the primitive world, there were not many who had cultivated the sword domain. This had something to do with the fact that it was very easy to cut one's waist in half on the path of the sword. It was also related to the fact that the path of the sword was extremely difficult. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that the man had shouted out the sword domain and even used it. There was no way that Yi Chun wouldn't take this seriously. It should be noted that even Yi Chun, who had the green lotus sword technique at the chaos level, could not comprehend the most basic sword essence, let alone reach the third stage of sword principle, sword realm. Moreover, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the sword principle that the man used was one of the top 10 sword principles in Untainted Land, the killing sword principle. There is only one word for the strange ability of this sword principle: kill. That's right, kill. Everything in the world was on the killing list of the killing sword Tao. If he cultivated the killing sword Tao to the extreme, he could even kill a saint. Of course, this was only the strength of the slaughter sword Tao. It didn't mean that the slaughter sword Tao could kill saints with ease. One had to know that saints were not simple. All of them had Khanate ultimate treasures or even Chaos ultimate treasures to protect themselves. It was not that easy to kill them. However, this did not hinder the terror of the slaughter sword Tao. Damn it. So what if it's the slaughter sword Tao? So what if it's the slaughter sword domain? Anyone who stands in my way must die. At this thought, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly widened. He waved his right hand, and the thick black godslayer appeared instantly. At this moment, the man on the wall of Xianyang City slashed down with a longsword in his right hand. Buzz! A sound was heard. In the next second, Yi Chun and the 510,000 Samsara Legion were instantly plunged into a gray space filled with all kinds of swords. This place was barren, and not a single blade of grass grew. There were only swords inserted into the ground. At a glance, it was boundless. Within the vermilion bird, Yi Chun glanced at the space that suddenly enveloped him and the Samsara Legion. Then his eyes widened. It was indeed the sword domain. However, it should be the embryonic form of the sword domain and not the complete sword domain. If it was the real sword domain, the Samsara Legion would be killed as soon as they entered it. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, a sharp, cold, and merciless murderous intent surged toward him like a wave. At this moment, a sense of extreme danger appeared in Yi Chun's heart. After realizing this, Yi Chun's right hand, which was holding the thick black godslayer, suddenly tightened. In the next second, Yi Chun roared, "Kill!" As soon as he said this, his murderous intent surged. At the same time, the space in front of Yi Chun distorted. At this moment, the murderous intent surged toward the vermilion bird like a tidal wave. Buzz! A sound was heard. The purple flames around the vermilion bird's body instantly shrunk. Seeing this, Yi Chun's eyes immediately narrowed. What a great way to kill everything, even the vermilion bird's flames. Unfortunately, his realm was too low. Thinking of this, Yi Chun viciously stabbed the godslayer into the distorted space. In the next second, a poochie sound was heard. At the same time, the killing sword domain suddenly stopped. Then with a bang, it exploded. The gray sword space disappeared, and the vermilion bird, who was trapped in the killing sword domain, reappeared in the sky. Seeing this, Yi-Chen let out a long sigh. Then he looked at the spirit body man, who was stabbed by the god slayer on the city wall of Xianying City. He asked, "Are you willing to submit to me?" Submit? In my entire life, I, Bai Qi, have never thought of submitting. Hearing this, the spirit body man, who had 1/3 of his spirit body destroyed by the god slayer, did not howl. Instead, he resisted the god slayer's devouring power with all his might. Hearing this, he coldly laughed and shouted. Hearing this, Yi-Chen was slightly stunned. Then, he came to a realization. Bai Qi, I was wondering why a ghost king with a killing sword Dao suddenly appeared. So, it was Bai Qi. That would explain it all. Bai Qi was a general of the state of Qin during the pre-Qin period. He had done something that was passed down for thousands of years, which was to kill 400,000 soldiers of the state of Zhao. He had both merits and demerits. Later generations had different opinions of him. However, from Yi-Chen's point of view, Bai Qi had killed 400,000 soldiers of the state of Zhao for his own benefit. More accurately, Bai Qi had killed 400,000 soldiers of the state of Zhao for the sake of cultivating the killing sword Dao, not for Qin Shi Huang. Bai Qi, he is truly vicious and vicious. Thinking about this, Yi-Chen nodded his head and pointed at Bai Qi. In the next second, a thunderous roar sounded out. Boom! Crack! At the same time, a red bolt of lightning appeared out of nowhere and struck towards Bai Qi. Bai Qi, who was resisting the devouring power of the god-slaying spear with all his might, narrowed his eyes when he saw this. Then, he roared toward the sky. He roared, "I refuse to accept this." After saying this, the red bolt of lightning struck. In the next second, a boom sounded out. Bai Qi, who was in his spirit body state, was abruptly ignited. At the same time, a blood-red lotus made up of red lightning and red lotus fire appeared on the city wall of Xianying City. Chapter 694. Following the appearance of the demonic blood-red lotus, the zombie soldiers on the city walls were set ablaze and burned intensely. Crazy roars rang out one after another. However, in the blink of an eye, they came to an abrupt stop. The zombie soldiers on the city walls were burned to ashes by the karmic fire of the red lotus and scattered with the wind. In the sky, Yi-Chen, who was within the vermilion bird's body, glanced at Bai Qi's soul within the blood-red lotus that covered the entire city walls. He curled his lips in disdain. So what if you don't accept it? You don't have a body, so you don't have a body. Everything is set in stone. No matter what you think, you can't change the outcome. Bai Qi's body contained a large amount of karma. After being struck by the karmic fire of the red lotus, all of the karma in his body was ignited. Following that, the karmic fire of the red lotus and the red lightning mercilessly burned him. It would not take long for Bai Qi's soul to be incinerated into nothingness before disappearing into thin air. This outcome was already set in stone. Even Bai Qi himself could sense it. It was also because of this that Bai Qi let out an unwilling roar. As for the reason, it was very simple. Bai Qi didn't have a body, so he couldn't unleash the full power of the Killing Sword path. If Bai Qi had a body, the might of the Killing Sword Principal Sword Domain would be 100 times stronger than the Killing Sword Domain he had just condensed with the zombie soldier's murderous aura and evil aura, which was at least 100 times stronger. Of course, even if Bai Qi had a body, the Killing Sword Path power would still be 100 times stronger, and he wouldn't be able to defend against Yi-Chen's attack. This was because Yi-Chen used the Tao of Space. Bai Qi simply couldn't defend against it. Crackle! The blood-red lotus continued to burn. Bai Qi's soul lasted for 2 breaths of time before it exploded with a boom. Then, it turned into a wisp of green smoke and disappeared without a trace. The instant Bai Qi's soul was burned to ashes by the karmic fire of the red lotus, a system notification suddenly sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi-Chen for successfully killing Ghost King Yi-Chen. Due to his special status, player Yi-Chen is rewarded with innate attribute points x 1000, merit points x1, 000,000. Ding! Player Yi-Chen has successfully killed the Ghost King Bai Qi and will receive the Killing Sword Way inheritance. Will you accept it? Yi Chen's eyes lit up as soon as the system notification ended. F***CK. The inheritance of the killing Sword Dao. This is such a pleasant surprise. Sword Dao legacies, especially the 10 great Sword Daos of the Primordial world, had to either comprehend them on their own or obtain an item that recorded the Sword Dao legacy. Earlier, when Bai Qi died, not a single strand of hair fell out. Yi Chen was puzzled by this result. After all, Bai Qi was a ghost king. How could he not even drop a single hair when he died? Who would have thought that the inheritance of the killing sword path would become the reward for killing Bai Qi? To Yi Chen, this was a surprise. Of course, it was more of a pleasant surprise. One had to know that each of the 10 great Sword Dao legacies had off the charts in terms of attack power. This was thousands of times better than obtaining any equipment. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that as long as Yi Chen chose to accept it, he would immediately receive the inheritance of the killing sword path, one of the 10 great Sword Daos of the Primordial world. Just as Yi Chen was about to rejoice, the system notification rang out once more. Ding! Player Yi Chen, please make your choice as soon as possible. After 3 seconds, if you don't confirm, you will automatically give up. When the system notification ended, Yi Chen's face froze. Mother asterisk her. Accept. After Yi Chen made his decision, the system notification rang out once more. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining the inheritance of the killing sword path. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining the primordial skill, killing sword art. When the system notification ended, a stream of information instantly appeared in Yi Chen's mind. When Yi Chen digested this stream of information, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. This killing sword art was indeed one of the 10 great sword daos. It was indeed sick. Compared to the green lotus sword art, it wasn't any weaker. In fact, it was even more brutal. It was a way to attain the Dao through killing. However, it's just right for me. As for practicing the killing sword art, it's not a problem for me at all. Once the red lotus karmic fire burns, all the karmic fire will disappear. Damn, this feels great. Just as Yi Chen finished his thought, the world notification rang out once more. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for successfully killing Ghost King Yi Chen. Due to his special identity, player Yi Chen is rewarded with Lottery X1, Innate Attribute Points X1000, and Divine Beast Level Up Scroll X1. The world notification rang out 3 times in a row, causing the entire world channel to explode. Damn, are you kidding me? How did Bai Qi become a Ghost King? Idiot, there's zombies in the secret territory. What's so strange about a ghost coming out? Damn, that's not the point. The point is that Yi Chen got all those benefits. Sigh, comparisons are odious. Yi Chen is Yi Chen. He's just as sick as ever. Yeah, other people are so scared that they want to leave the secret territory, but they can't get out. But Yi Chen? Damn, not only is he not afraid, he even killed a Ghost King and got so many good things. Are you envious? I'm envious too. F***CK, what's with the lottery? I don't know what it is, but it's F***King Innate Attribute Points X1000. That's F***King ridiculous. Wouldn't Yi Chen become even more F***King awesome? Don't talk nonsense. Yi Chen got a lot of innate attribute points. Let me tell you, don't think that Yi Chen got a lot of innate attribute points. I can guarantee that Yi Chen won't be able to advance even if he uses all of them. Hee, that's true. Yi Chen got a few thousand attribute points before, and he just advanced to the God Martial Arts realm. Idiot, what do you know? Don't you know that the further you go, the harder it is to advance in the realm? Yi Chen said that he won't advance if he doesn't advance. But once he does, his strength will definitely change drastically. Stop talking nonsense. Let's think about how to kill monsters and level up as soon as possible. That's more important. Yeah, the safe cities in the real world are gone. Now, the shifters are getting restless. If it weren't for the shifters' invasion and Yi Chen slaughtering them all, the real world would have become a living hell. Damn it, the shifters' invasion of a shifters' invasion reduced the spawn points of the strongholds by a lot. There are people everywhere, and it's hard to see monsters. How are we going to kill monsters and level up? What's there to worry about? Don't forget that the World War will start in 4 days. When the time comes, it'll be easier to go overseas and kill the Japanese and Koreans. There'll be a lot of experience and equipment drops. Isn't that great? That's true. When the time comes, we'll go overseas and do something big. The World Channel was abuzz. After Yi Chun took a look, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The benefits that I've gained are not just what the World Channel announcement said. Most importantly, the World Channel announcement didn't say. Thinking of this, Yi Chun couldn't help but smile. Then he focused his mind. In the next second, the vermilion bird flapped its wings and turned into a red light, rushing straight into the city. Chapter 695. Just as the vermilion bird rushed into Xianyang City, a series of kacha sounds suddenly resounded in the vast Xianyang City. In the next second, the sound of something tearing through the air that was comparable to an explosion rang out. Boom! 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 Countless huge arrows that were 10 meters long and as thick as a person's thigh suddenly flew out from Xianyang City and shot toward the vermilion bird in the sky. In the sky, Yi Chun, who was inside the vermilion bird's body, sneered at the sight. He pointed his sword and shouted, "Army formula! Buzz!" The huge arrows that were flying toward the vermilion bird suddenly stopped in mid-air. In the next second, the vermilion bird flapped its wings and dived down, disappearing in a flash. When the red light dissipated and the vermilion bird appeared, a series of explosions could be heard. Boom! 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 Everywhere the vermilion bird passed, all the buildings in Xianyang City were set ablaze and turned into a pile of ashes. At the same time, the roars of the zombies could be heard. Then, everything became quiet. The zombie clan seemed powerful, but they had many ways to restrain them. Fire was one of them. Yi Chun did not use the most powerful Red Lotus Hellfire. Instead, he used the vermilion bird's fire to burn all the zombie soldiers hiding in the buildings in Xianyang City to death. One could imagine how powerful Yi Chun was when dealing with the zombies. Of course, this was also one of the reasons why Yi Chun was confident enough to attack the underground palace secret realm after realizing that it was not ordinary. When Yi Chun saw the sea of flames burning behind him, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then, with a thought, he thought, in the next second, the vermilion bird flapped its wings and rose into the sky again. In the blink of an eye, it dived down again and turned into a red light. Boom! 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 Everywhere the vermilion bird passed, a sea of fire appeared. All the buildings and zombie soldiers were burned to ashes without exception. After a few times, 90% of Xianyang City was burned down. The last 10% was the Great Qin Imperial Palace in Xianyang City. Here, there was a light barrier that appeared and disappeared from time to time, firmly enveloping it. When the vermilion bird appeared again, it was already at the gates of the Great Qin Imperial Palace. In the next second, a red light flashed as the vermilion bird disappeared, and Yi Chun and the 510,000 Samsara Legion appeared outside the Great Qin Palace. Yi Chun glanced at the light barrier that enveloped the Imperial Palace, and his eyes suddenly widened. Barrier of Providence. The Shield of Providence was a shield that would automatically form when the Empire was in danger. For example, when the demons invaded the human world, the shield that suddenly appeared outside Luoyang City was the Shield of Providence that belonged to the Great Han Empire. Without it, the Luoyang Imperial Palace would have long been conquered. At that moment, the Providence barrier outside the Great Qin Palace was similar to the barrier that enveloped the Luoyang Palace when the demons invaded. It seems that my judgment was correct. Half of the Providence of the Three Kingdoms region is in the hands of Qin Shi Huang. Otherwise, there would not be a barrier of Providence here. Thinking of this, the corners of Yi Chun's mouth couldn't help but curl up. Yi Chun wanted to establish a country and then ascend. Naturally, he wanted his empire to have more providence. Now that the Great Qin Imperial Palace in the underground secret realm was enveloped by the Shield of Providence, it proved that Qin Shi Huang had half of the true providence of the Three Kingdoms region. How could Yi Chun not be happy? The Shield of Providence's defensive power was indeed very strong. If it were anyone else, they would not have a good solution and could only break it with brute force. However, thinking of this, Yi Chen raised his left hand and curled his fingers to draw a talisman in the air. At that moment, a golden dot of light appeared directly under Yi Chen's finger. Then, the golden light moved along with Yi Chen's finger and quickly drew extremely mysterious golden runes one after another. The instant Yi Chen stopped, his eyes widened and he shouted, "What are you doing?" Heaven's Eye! As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, the golden runes in the air were instantly reflected in Yi Chen's eyes. Then 2 golden lights filled with a mysterious aura shot out from Yi Chen's eyes. In the next second, Yi Chen looked directly at the Shield of Providence that enveloped the Great Qin Imperial Palace. At that moment, a man in golden armor suddenly appeared on the palace walls. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, a burly figure, and a resolute face. If it weren't for his grayish-white face and scarlet eyes that betrayed his identity as a zombie, anyone who saw him would think that he was a mighty and peerless general. Just as Yi Chen sensed the appearance of the zombie general and looked at it, the zombie general on the palace walls cupped his fists at Yi Chen and said, "I am Wang Qin. I am Great Qin's Wang Jian. May I ask who you are?" "The Lord of the Reincarnation Immortal City, Yi Chen." When Yi Chen heard this, he frowned slightly and looked at Wang Qin. Yi Chen naturally knew who Wang Qin was. He had suddenly appeared and talked to Yi Chen. Yi Chen could also tell what his motive was. To be more precise, Wang Qin had spoken to Yi Chen in an amiable manner. Apart from wanting to negotiate with Yi Chen and asking what conditions Yi Chen had in exchange for giving up on attacking the Imperial Palace, there couldn't be any other motive. The reason Yi Chen had spoken to Wang Qin was because Yi Chen still wanted to see if he could subdue Wang Qin's zombie general. Even though the probability of this was close to 0, Yi Chen still wanted to try. As for the reason, it was very simple. Yi Chen's goal was to become an Emperor Dao, sovereign, and control the myriad worlds. Among them, the Nether Realm was a forbidden zone for living beings. If Yi Chen sent Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and the others to lead troops to the Nether Realm, they would be attacked by the entire Nether Realm. Moreover, it would be the kind of attack that wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Even if Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and the others, and the soldiers they led weren't afraid of death and were willing to give up everything for Yi Chen, it would be useless. This was because the Nether Realm's laws of heaven and earth rejected all living beings. To be more precise, any living being that entered the Nether Realm would be suppressed, weakened, and cursed. It was impossible for them to stay in there for long periods of time. If Yi Chen had a zombie general as a subordinate, he could have a zombie general fight for Yi Chen in the Nether Realm. He wouldn't have to worry about the restrictions and rejection of the Nether Realm's laws of heaven and earth. Of course, the prerequisite for taking in a zombie general as a subordinate was that the zombie general was willing to submit. Moreover, Yi Chen wasn't strong enough to completely suppress everything. If Yi Chen was strong enough to suppress everything, Yi Chen wouldn't need a zombie general as a subordinate. He could just directly attack. Simply put, those who submit to me prosper. Those who resist me perish. If the Nether Realm didn't submit, he could just directly destroy everything in the Nether Realm. It was because of this that Yi Chen had responded to Wang Qin's question. Hearing this, Wang Qin nodded and said, "Emperor, I wish to speak with you. Your Majesty, there is something I would like to discuss with Lord Yi. I wonder if Lord Yi would agree?" Chapter 696. After hearing Wang Jin's question, Yi Chen raised his eyebrows and said, "Speak." As soon as Yi Chen's words fell, Wang Jin, who was on the palace wall, was stunned. Wang Jin did not expect Yi Chen's answer to be so simple and straightforward. He did not say anything else. In Wang Jin's opinion, Yi Chen should not be easy to talk to. After all, Yi Chen led an army to attack the underground secret realm, killed Meng Tian, killed Bai Qi, and destroyed an army of 400,000 zombies. He even set fire to Xianyang City and burned down the palace. No matter how one looked at it, He did not look like an easy person to talk to. After coming back to his senses, Wang Jian glanced at Yi Chun, then clasped his fist and said, "City Lord Yi, the path of the Emperor is different from that of you. City Lord Yi, please give up on attacking the palace of the Qin dynasty. If you are willing to give up, the Emperor is willing to provide you with 1,000,000 sets of standard equipment. What do you think, City Lord Yi? Different paths?" Yi Chun paused and glanced at Wang Jian, then continued. "At first, I did not know what the Emperor was planning. But now, I know very well that his path is the same as mine. We are both on the path of the Emperor. On this path, there is no such thing as friends, and there is no such thing as peace. Because in the end, only one person can reach the top." When Wang Jian, who was standing on the palace walls, heard this, his already ashen face darkened. Obviously, Wang Jian did not want to hear Yi Chun's answer. Otherwise, he would not be like this. Yi Chun glanced at Wang Jian, whose expression suddenly changed. He smiled faintly and asked, "What are you doing?" "General Wang, have you heard of this saying?" After hearing Yi Chun's question, Wang Jian was slightly stunned. Then, he looked at Yi Chun and said, "City Lord Yi, if you have something to say, please say it." "Okay." After hearing Wang Jian's straightforward words, Yi Chun was not angry at all. Instead, he smiled and nodded, then said, "I don't know if Emperor Qin's goal is the end of the Emperor's path, but it's not important. What's important is that Emperor Qin's plan won't succeed because I'm here. As for those of you who follow him, there are only two endings. You either submit to me or be destroyed. What do you think, General Wang?" "Lord Yi, aren't you being too confident?" Wang Jian's eyes narrowed when he heard Yi Futian's words. When Yi Chun heard this, he laughed out loud. Then his eyes suddenly widened and he shouted, "I'm confident because I'm the City Lord of Reincarnation Immortal City." When Wang Jian heard Yi Chun's overbearing and confident words, his heart, which had almost stopped beating, suddenly trembled. At that moment, Wang Jian sensed an extremely dense Emperor's aura from Yi Chun's body. This Emperor's aura was very different from the Emperor's aura of Qin Shi Huang, who he followed. To be precise, although the royal aura emitted by Yi Chun was fainter than the royal aura emitted by Qin Shi Huang, Yi Chun's royal aura was more domineering and tyrannical. There was even an additional sense of supremacy in the world. This was something that Emperor Qin did not possess. After a short moment of shock, Wang Jian looked at Yi Chun and said in a low voice, "City Lord Yi, my emperor is willing to negotiate with you, not because he's afraid of you, nor because he doesn't have the ability to kill you. Does City Lord you want to fight until both sides suffer?" "Both sides suffer?" Emperor Qin thinks too highly of himself. "I just said that Emperor Qin's plan is destined to fail because I'm here." When Yi Chun heard this, he smiled coldly and said. When Wang Jian heard this, his face darkened and he shouted, "If City Lord Yi insists on doing so, then I ask City Lord Yi to attack." "General Wang, are you really not going to consider following me?" When Yi Chun heard this, he raised his eyebrows and asked. When Wang Jian heard this, he glanced at Yi Chun and then cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for your appreciation, City Lord Yi. However, I was born and raised in the Great Qin Empire. Even if I'm a zombie, I'm still a zombie of the Great Qin Empire. What a pity." Hearing this, Yi Chun sighed and said. After he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly widened and he shouted, "Don't worry. In that case, watch how I'm going to break the city." When Yi Chun finished speaking, the God-Slayer in his right hand shook violently. Buzz! There was a buzzing sound. In the next second, Yi Chun soared into the air and flew toward the Shield of Providence outside the Great Qin Empire's palace. When Yi Chun arrived above the Shield of Providence, Yi Chun poked the God-Slayer in his right hand at the Shield of Providence. Poof! There was a sound. The Shield of Providence, which billions of monsters could not break, was pierced through by the God-Slayer in an instant. On top of the palace walls, Wang Jian, who saw this scene, opened his scarlet eyes abruptly. Then he shouted in shock, "What are you doing? How is this possible?" Wang Jian did not expect that the Shield of Providence, which was said to be invincible, would be pierced through so easily by Yi Chun's spear. This was beyond Wang Jian's knowledge, and he could not help but be shocked. In fact, Wang Jian did not know that Yi Chun had stabbed the only weak point of the Shield of Providence. Moreover, the black spear in his hand was the God-Slayer, which was a Khanate cardinal treasure, and its attack power was ridiculously strong. If Wang Jian knew about this, he would understand why Yi Chun's spear had pierced through the Providence barrier. In the sky, Yi Chun, who had pierced through the Shield of Providence, heard Wang Jian's exclamation and looked at him. I said that the Qin Emperor is destined to fail because I'm here. As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, the God-Slayer in his right hand shook violently. Wang, following which, the Providence barrier suddenly lit up before exploding with a walla. Long live the Lord! Long live the Lord! Long live the Lord! When the soldiers of the Samsara Legion saw this, they raised the spears in their hands and shouted loudly. At this moment, a hearty laugh suddenly sounded. Ha ha ha! The Qin Emperor, remember what you promised me. Don't go back on your words, or I'll kill you. As soon as the voice fell, a man with explosive muscles and a black spear in his hand suddenly appeared on the city wall. When Wang Jian saw the man who suddenly appeared, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief and bowed to the man. Thank you, Overlord. Trash, get out of my way. When a male with a black great spear heard that, he coldly snorted, then threw out a kick. With a bang, he kicked Wang Jian away. In the sky, Yi Chun, who had pierced through the Shield of Providence, saw this and landed directly on the city wall. He then looked at the man, surnamed Xiang, who suddenly appeared, and said, The Lord of the Reincarnation Immortal City, Yi Chun. I am the Overlord of Western Shu, Xiang Yu. The man surnamed Xiang laughed and then shouted. Chapter 697. As soon as Xiang Yu finished speaking, Yi Chun's eyes widened. Holy shit, it really was him. When Yi Chun heard Wang Jian call Xiang Yu Overlord, he immediately thought of Xiang Yu, the Overlord of Western Shu. This was because Xiang Yu was the only one who had this title during the Qin dynasty. However, when he thought of Xiang Yu's enmity with the Great Qin dynasty, Yi Chun found it hard to believe. However, the man standing in front of Yi Chun had clearly stated his background. There was no reason for Yi Chun not to believe that this man was Xiang Yu. After all, anyone who had reached the God Martial realm, even if they were zombies, would not impersonate others. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, a loud bang sounded out. Wang Jian, who had been sent flying by Xiang Yu's kick, crashed into the wall of a building in the Imperial Palace, creating a huge hole in the wall. Yi Chun glanced at the building where Wang Jian had smashed a huge hole and curled his lips in disdain. Originally, Yi Chun had wanted to subdue Wang Jian. After all, Yi Chun wanted to set up the Nether Realm in advance. However, Wang Jian's behavior after Xiang Yu's arrival disappointed Yi Chun. Even though he had turned into a zombie, he couldn't be so spineless, could he? Even if he was facing Xiang Yu, he should not be so humble. After all, when Xiang Yu had arrived, he had already clearly stated that he was here to stop Yi Chun. There was simply no need for Wang Jian to lower his head and do anything subservient. However, not only did Wang Jian lower himself, he even heaved a sigh of relief. No matter how Yi Chun looked at Wang Jian, he did not like him. When Wang Jian spoke to Yi Chun earlier, his attitude was very firm. Moreover, he showed that he would rather die than submit. He was full of the spirit of a general. It was because of this that Yi Chun completely gave up on the idea of subduing Wang Jian. Even if Wang Jian turned around and was willing to submit to Yi Chun would not accept him. Yi Chun did not want a spineless subordinate. When Xiang Yu saw that Yi Chun was looking away, his face darkened as he shouted, Kid, how dare you be distracted when facing me? When Yi Chun heard this, he curled his lips and said, That's right. Cut the crap. Submit or be destroyed, you choose. Submit? When Xiang Yu heard this, he was stunned for a moment. Then his eyes widened and he shouted, What? How arrogant! After Xiang Yu shouted, he swung the black spear in his right hand at Yi Chun. Boom! As the black spear waved, the air instantly exploded. When Yi Chun saw Xiang Yu's powerful spear, his eyes widened and he shouted, Hey, Xiang Yu! just in time. After Yi Chun shouted, he ruthlessly swung the god-killing spear in his right hand at Xiang Yu's black spear with incomparable ferocity. Bam! A loud sound was heard as Yi Chun's god-slayer and Xiang Yu's black spear collided. At this moment, a bang sound was heard. Xiang Yu's black spear exploded in an instant. Then, it turned into fragments that flew in all directions. Ding, ding, ding. A series of collision sounds were heard from Yi Chun and Xiang Yu's bodies. It was caused by the pieces of Xiang Yu's black spear hitting Yi Chun and Xiang Yu's bodies. After Yi Chun destroyed Xiang Yu's black spear, he raised his eyebrows and kept his spear. He looked at Xiang Yu, who was in disbelief because his weapon was destroyed, and said, "Xiang Yu, submit to me. Xiang Yu, submit to me, and I will bring you to glory. Otherwise die." Xiang Yu, who had a look of disbelief on his face, suddenly widened his scarlet eyes when he heard this. Then he coldly shouted, "Even without my weapon, I am still an overlord." After saying this, Xiang Yu swung his fist towards Yi Chun. When Yi Chun saw this, he squinted his eyes and put away the God-Slayer. He clenched his right hand into a fist and met Xiang Yu's fist. Bam! When the two fists collided, a muffled sound was heard and a shockwave exploded. In the next second, Xiang Yu's expression changed drastically as he was sent flying by a force that was even more violent than his own. Bam, bam, bam. After a series of crashing sounds, Xiang Yu stopped and looked up at Yi Chun, who was flying toward him. He said with a complicated expression, "Brother Yi, don't worry. Your spear is very powerful, and so is your skill. I have never met anyone who is stronger than me in terms of strength. Not before, not after I became a zombie. You are the first. Should I be honored?" Yi Chun's eyebrows involuntarily raised when he heard this before he opened his mouth and asked. When Yi Chun finished his words, Xiang Yu's face darkened. Clearly, Xiang Yu was not in a good mood. Yi Chun looked at Xiang Yu and said in a low voice, "Submit or surrender. Submit or be destroyed. Make your choice. This is your last chance." After Yi Chun finished speaking, the God-Slayer appeared in his right hand, and he pointed it at Xiang Yu. "I am an indomitable spirit. How can I?" Before Xiang Yu could finish his words, a faint cloud of smoke rushed out of the jade pendant he wore on his chest. In the blink of an eye, a beautiful female soul appeared in midair. "Yuji, come back." When Xiang Yu saw the female soul that suddenly appeared, his expression changed, and he shouted anxiously. "Yuji!" When Yi Chun heard this, he was slightly stunned. He then looked at the soul that appeared not far away from him. At this moment, Yuji, who was in her soul state, bowed to Yi Chun and said, "My overlord is not an enemy. The overlord is not truly your enemy. Please let the overlord go. Yuji thanks you again." "Yuji!" When Xiang Yu heard this, his expression changed, and he roared angrily. Yuji's words were full of weakness. How could the proud and arrogant Xiang Yu like to hear this? When Yi Chun heard this, he glanced at Yuji, then looked at Xiang Yu and asked, "Submit or be destroyed. How dare you threaten me?" When Xiang Yu heard this, his two scarlet eyes instantly shone with a fierce light, and then he roared. When Yi Chun heard this, he glanced at Xiang Yu and said in a deep voice, "There's no threat. I'm only asking you if you will submit or not. If you refuse, you will die, and so will Yuji. I will not leave behind an existence that is a threat to me, even if she is just a woman's soul. City Lord Yi, you should know what kind of person the Overlord is. Why are you forcing others?" When Yuji heard this, her soul shook uncontrollably and her body almost became unstable. However, Yuji immediately stabilized and then looked at Yi Chun and asked. When Yi Chun heard this, he glanced at Yuji and said, "The winner is the loser. Winner takes all. The logic is that simple. Moreover, Yuji, I'm afraid you've forgotten your current identities. A zombie and a ghost. Such existences are existences that I, as a human, can destroy at any time. Moreover, it's reasonable. Yi Chun, you still dare to say that it's not a threat." When Xiang Yu heard this, his violent killing intent instantly rose, and then he roared at Yi Chun. After roaring, he flew up and charged at Yichun. Chapter 698. Yichun raised his eyebrows when he saw this. That was enough, but it was not enough. Yichun looked at Xiangyu, who was flying toward him, and said coldly, Xiangyu, I've said so much to you because I like your abilities and want to give you a chance at riches. However, after so many years, you're still the same as when you were a human. Arrogant, hot-tempered, and unable to see the truth. If that's the case, what's the use of keeping you? As Yichun spoke up to this point, a strong murderous intent instantly rose from his body. At the same time, he waved his right hand and the Godslayer appeared. Without hesitation, he stabbed at Xiangyu. When Xiangyu, who was flying rapidly towards Yichun in midair, heard Yichun's words, his rage instantly surged. The zombie aura that he had been hiding in his body all this time was like a spark being thrown into a barrel of oil, instantly erupting. At the same time, the zombie blood in his body began to boil. In an instant, Xiangyu's expression changed. He saw that Yichun had obtained the god-slaying spear. At that moment, Xiangyu's eyes narrowed and he hurriedly dodged. However, at this moment, Xiangyu's expression changed drastically. He could not dodge because the Godslayer had locked onto him. No matter how hard he tried, he could not escape the Godslayer's attack range. The God-slaying spear pierced Xiangyu's heart in a simple and brutal manner. Overlord, when Yu saw this, she immediately let out an extremely shrill and ruthless cry. Yichun, even if I die, I will. Xiangyu, whose heart had been pierced by the God-slaying spear, ignored the God-slaying spear that had pierced his heart. He glared at Yichun and roared angrily. However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by Yichun. Shut up. I'll give you an opportunity. If you're willing and can overcome it, you'll be reborn, and so will your Yuji. Yichun waved his right hand, and a ball of red lotus hellfire appeared and flew into Xiangyu's heart. Xiangyu was stunned when he heard Yichun's words. Yuji, who was on the verge of collapse because Xiangyu had been stabbed, was also stunned. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud sound. The red lotus hellfire in Xiangyu's heart burned. At this moment, Xiangyu's already pale face suddenly turned pale, and he involuntarily let out an extremely shrill roar. Roar! Pain, a soul-piercing pain, stimulated Xiangyu's nerves and soul. At this moment, Xiangyu even had the urge to die right now. In the air, Yuji, who was in a daze, was stunned when she saw this. Then, she thought of something and hurriedly looked at Xiangyu and shouted, What are you doing? Overlord, you have to hold on, and you'll be able to return. Xiangyu was stunned when he heard Yuji's words of encouragement. Then, he realized something. In the next second, Xiangyu looked at Yichun with a complicated expression and landed on the ground. After a loud bang, Xiangyu stood in a large pit. He gritted his teeth and clenched his fists so hard that the veins on his body bulged. In the sky, Yichun let out a long sigh as he looked at Xiangyu, who was enduring the pain. Damn it, I wonder if I'll lose out on doing a good deed this time. Previously, Yichun had fought with Xiangyu, mocked Xiangyu, domineeringly wanted to subdue Xiangyu, and even said that he would kill Yuji. In fact, Yichun had done all of this on purpose. As for his ultimate goal, it was to completely subdue Xiangyu, a super general that was basically impossible to subdue. After all, although Xiangyu was a zombie, Yichun had discovered a fact the moment he appeared. Xiangyu was not willing to use his zombie abilities. He even hid the aura that zombies were supposed to carry. All of this told Yichun one thing. Xiangyu did not want to become a zombie, and he hated the identity of a zombie. Otherwise, he would not have done this. It was because of this discovery that Yichun came up with a plan to provoke Xiangyu and activate the zombie blood that had already solidified in Xiangyu's body. This was the only way Yichun could use the karmic fire of the Red Lotus to purify Xiangyu's zombie body and turn him back into a human. Of course, Yichun only dared to do this because he had refined the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. If it was a normal karmic fire of the Red Lotus, Xiangyu would definitely be burned to ashes. However, The karmic fire of the Red Lotus that Yi Chun released was controlled by Yi Chun. As long as Yi Chun did not agree, it would not burn Xiang Yu to death. In this way, Xiang Yu would be indebted to Yi Chun. When the time came to subdue him, Xiang Yu would not be able to reject him without hesitation like before. As for letting Xiang Yu maintain his zombie body and fight for Yi Chun in the nether underworld, Yi Chun wanted to do that. Unfortunately, Xiang Yu, who was a zombie, could not be subdued. Hence, Yi Chun could only settle for the next best thing, which was to give Xiang Yu an opportunity before trying to subdue him. After all, no matter what, Xiang Yu was still a super general. Yi Chun did not want to casually kill Xiang Yu. That would be too wasteful. As for whether Yi Chun could successfully subdue Xiang Yu, Yi Chun was not very sure. Of course, although he was not sure, Yi Chun knew very well that the chances of Xiang Yu submitting to him would be greatly increased because of his plan. Especially after Yi Chun said that he would give Xiang Yu a blessing, including Yuji, the chances of Xiang Yu submitting to him were even higher. As for the reason, it was very simple. Yuji was the person Xiang Yu cared about the most. Otherwise, Xiang Yu would not have shouted those threatening words when he accepted the Qin Emperor's invitation to resist Yi Chun. Of course, before Yuji appeared, Yi Chun was not sure what Xiang Yu was talking about. However, when Yuji appeared, Yi Chun was completely sure of one thing. The condition that Xiang Yu asked the Qin Emperor to agree to was 99% to resurrect Yuji. This was because no matter how flawed Xiang Yu's character was, the person he was most ashamed of was Yuji. Therefore, Xiang Yu's request to the Qin Emperor was 100% related to Yuji. The only possibility that it was related to Yuji was her resurrection. And this was the reason why Yi Chun said that he would give Xiang Yu a blessing and also give Yuji a blessing. In the sky, Yuji, in her soul form, looked at Xiang Yu, who was enduring the pain of purification on the ground, and then looked at Yi Chun. She bowed solemnly to Yi Chun and said, "Thank you, City Lord Yi. I have nothing to repay you with. If City Lord Yi is willing, I am willing to follow City Lord Yi. Please take me in." As soon as Yuji's words fell, the system notification sounded. Ding! The superclass historical beauty, Yuji, is willing to acknowledge you as her master. Do you accept? As soon as the system notification ended, Yi Chun's eyes lit up. Holy shit! Wouldn't it be stupid not to accept? Accept! Yi Chun's mind moved, and the system notification sounded again. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for obtaining the loyalty of the superclass historical beauty, Yuji. As soon as the system notification ended, Xiang Yu, who was enduring the pain of purification, opened his eyes and let out a heaven-shaking roar. Roar! Chapter 699. In addition to the pain in Xiang Yu's roar, there was also a strong sense of violence. Yi Chun frowned when he heard it. Although it was painful for Xiang Yu to be purified, he was willing to bear the pain. It was impossible for him to be violent. Could it be because I took Yuji? Just as Yi Chun thought of this, Xiang Yu, who was roaring at the sky, looked into the depths of the palace and roared, "Qin Shi Huang, how dare you do this to me? I will kill you." As soon as Xiang Yu's words fell, Yi Chun's eyes narrowed. So was Qin Shi Huang's doing. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's face suddenly darkened because a bad feeling involuntarily appeared in Yi Chun's heart. At this moment, Yuji's face suddenly changed, and then she looked at Yi Chun in panic, bowed, and said, "My lord, we must kill Qin Shi Huang as soon as possible, or the Overlord will lose his consciousness." All right. Hearing this, Yi Chun nodded and raised the God Slayer in his right hand. Just as he was about to speak, Xiang Yu on the ground suddenly looked at Yi Chun and shouted, "Wait!" Hearing this, Yi Chun could not help but be stunned, and then he looked at Xiang Yu. Before Yi Chun could ask, Xiang Yu cupped his fists at Yi Chun and then bowed solemnly. In the next second, Xiang Yu said in an incomparably deep voice, "I will remember City Lord Ye's kindness in my heart. Unfortunately, I was schemed against by Ing Zheng, otherwise I would definitely drink and chat with City Lord Yi. Even if I followed City Lord Yi, it would not be impossible. But now it is too late. I have fallen into Qin Shi Huang's trap. It will not be long before my consciousness completely collapses. At that time, I will just be a walking corpse without consciousness. Is there a way to break it? Yi Chun heard this, and his face darkened again, and then he hurriedly asked. After scheming for so long, Yi Chun was about to succeed. However, Xiang Yu was tricked. Yi Chun did not want to see such a situation happen. However, Yi Chun did not know much about the zombie tribe. Otherwise, Yi Chun would not have asked Xiang Yu if there was a way to solve the problem. When Xiang Yu heard Yi Chun's anxious question, he smiled bitterly and said bitterly, "That's right. Even if Daluo Jinxian is here, there's nothing he can do. Because I'm a zombie created by Ing Zheng himself. I'm naturally under his control." At this point, Xiang Yu clenched his fists and looked at Yuji. "I'm sorry to my parents in Jiangdong, but I'm even more sorry to you. I couldn't give you a perfect life, nor did I give you a happy life. If there's a next life, I hope that I can stay by your side forever. However, I'm a zombie now. I can't enter the cycle of reincarnation after death, so there's no next life." At this point, a strong sense of unwillingness appeared on Xiang Yu's body. In the sky, Yuji, who was looking at Xiang Yu, suddenly burst into tears. "Overlord!" After Yuji shouted, she flew towards Xiang Yu. "Don't come over." "Yuji, if you want me to self-destruct immediately, then come over." Xiang Yu saw this, and his face changed drastically. He then shouted. Xiang Yu had the red lotus hellfire on him. A soul like Yuji would be burned to ashes if she got close. Otherwise, Xiang Yu would not be like this. As soon as Xiang Yu finished speaking, Yuji hurriedly stopped. Then, she looked at Xiang Yu and shouted sadly, "Overlord!" Xiang Yu took a deep look at Yuji, then looked at Yi Chun. He bowed again, cupped his fists, and said loudly, "Being able to get to know City Lord Yi in this lifetime is not a waste of my life. However, I have a presumptuous request. I hope City Lord Yi can agree to it." When Yi Chun heard this, he sighed inwardly, then nodded and said, "Overlord, if you have something to say, just say it. If I can do it, I will do my best." When Xiang Yu heard this, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he looked at Yi Chun and said seriously, "Thank you, City Lord Yi. My request is not difficult. Please take good care of Yuji, City Lord Yi." At this point, Xiang Yu suddenly thought of something and quickly added, "After Yuji and I, because I fought in the south and north, we did not do it as husband and wife. I hope City Lord you will not dislike Yuji." When Yi Chun heard this, he was stunned. However, Yi Chun did not expect Xiang Yu to say such a thing. F***CK. This is a bit melodramatic. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, Xiang Yu took out a ring and threw it to Yi Chun. After Yi Chun caught it, Xiang Yu's face suddenly turned pale, and his body swayed involuntarily at this moment. After trying to stabilize his body, Xiang Yu shook his head and hurriedly said, "Yuji's body is in the ring. If City Lord Yi can find the Yang Restoration Elixir, please give Yuji a new life. I thank you." After Xiang Yu finished speaking, he bowed deeply to Yi Chun. When Yi Chun heard this, he was slightly stunned. Then, he waved his right hand and a Yang Restoration Elixir appeared in Yi Chun's right hand. After seeing the Yang Restoration Elixir in Yi Chun's hand, Xiang Yu could not help but be stunned. When he came to his senses, he threw his head back and laughed maniacally. "Ha ha ha, heaven's will, heaven's will. I have no regrets in this life." Xiang Yu's laughter was a little crazy and sad. When he stopped laughing, Xiang Yu looked directly at Yi Chun and said, "Yi Chun, I'm sorry. City Lord Yi, don't take back the Red Lotus Fire. With it, I can still suppress the will from Qin Shi Huang. Otherwise," when Yi Chun heard this, he nodded. Seeing Yi Chun agree, Xiang Yu laughed heartily and bowed again to Yi Chun. "In that case, I'll leave it to you, City Lord Yi." When Yuji heard this, she smiled sadly, then looked at Xiang Yu and said seriously, "If you die, I'll follow you until I die." When Xiang Yu heard this, he looked deeply at Yuji and said, "Yuji, don't let me regret it for the rest of my life after I die." When Yuji heard this, her soul trembled violently, Then she cried out sorrowfully, "Overlord!" When Xiangyu heard this, he took a deep breath. After a long exhalation, he shouted, "I've made up my mind. Don't be noisy." When Xiangyu finished speaking, he looked deeply at Yuji, as if he wanted to imprint Yuji's face in his heart forever. In the next second, Xiangyu turned around and looked into the depths of the palace. Then he roared, "Yingzheng, I'm coming." When Xiangyu finished speaking, he soared into the air and flew straight into the depths of the palace. At this moment, Xiangyu's aura rose again and again. The violent aura of the god martial realm was released without restraint. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the main hall in the depths of the palace. In the next second, Xiangyu's physical body rushed into the main hall of the palace. Boom! After the loud bang of the fist colliding, there was a sudden explosion that shook the heavens and the earth. Boom! A fiery red mushroom cloud rose from the main hall of the palace, and then suddenly exploded, destroying the entire palace in an instant and then spreading out rapidly. Chapter 700. When Yichen saw this, he couldn't help but sigh. He still blew himself up. Yichen had already expected Xiangyu to blow himself up. Although Yichen did not want to see this result, Yichen also knew that blowing himself up was undoubtedly the best outcome for Xiangyu. After all, Xiangyu did not want to become a mindless zombie, nor did he want to submit to Qin Emperor Yingzheng. Thinking of this, Yichen used his left hand to pull Yuji, who had collapsed because of Xiangyu's self-explosion, into his small world. Yuji was still a soul and had no cultivation. If he did not keep her in his small world, she would definitely be destroyed by the shockwave of Xiangyu's self-explosion. Looking at the crumbling Yuji in his small world, Yichen sighed inwardly. Then, with a thought, the innate spiritual treasure, Earthly Spirit Pearl, appeared. In the next second, the Earthly Spirit Pearl, floating in the air, shook violently. Buzz! A mysterious wave shot out from the Earthly Spirit Pearl and rushed to the ground. In the next second, the ground shook violently. Then, a wall of earth 10,000 meters long and 100 meters thick suddenly rose from the ground. In the blink of an eye, it rose to a height of 1,000 meters. At this moment, the shockwave of Xiangyu's self-explosion arrived. Boom! The wall of earth shook violently. The thick and heavy earth wall instantly shook and then began to melt. When there was only a thickness of 10 meters left, everything returned to silence. When Yichen saw this, he waved his right hand, and the wall instantly turned into a cloud of dust and disappeared. At this moment, a cold and angry roar sounded. "Yichen, I want you dead." Yichen heard this and narrowed his eyes. He looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a man in a dragon robe. His eyes were scarlet, and his face was filled with killing intent. He had 9 cauldrons above his head and was walking toward Yichen. Behind him, countless zombies crawled out from the ground. Each of them had a violent aura and were covered in black gas. Seeing this, Yichen's eyes widened. Qin Shi Huang, Yingzheng. He did not expect that not only Yingzheng was not killed by the explosion, there were also so many zombie soldiers who were not killed by the explosion. Just nice I could train my troops. Thinking of this, Yichen looked directly at the man in the dragon robe. He pointed the god-killing spear in his right hand at him and shouted, "Hand over the 9 cauldrons of the ancient kingdom, and I can give you a quick death." Upon hearing Yichen's words, Yingzheng's eyes went wide, and he shouted, "What an arrogant tone." When Yichen heard this, he glanced at the Qin emperor and curled his lips in disdain. Right at this moment, 3 military generals suddenly sprung out from behind Yingzheng and rushed towards Yichen. When Yichen saw this, he sneered. He aimed the God Slayer in his right hand at the distorted space in front of him and stabbed it 3 times. Poochie, 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 3 sounds were heard. The 3 Violet Palace Realm zombie generals that charged towards Yichen had their heads pierced through by the God Slayer. Pung, 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 3 sounds were heard. The 3 zombie generals that had their heads pierced through by the God Slayer instantly exploded into pieces and splattered everywhere. At this moment, the system notification sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for killing Pre-Chin, General Zhang Han. Due to his special status, player Yi Chun is rewarded with 108 attribute points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for killing Pre-Chin, General Wang Bin. Due to his special status, player Yi Chun is rewarded with 108 attribute points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for killing Pre-Chin General Nei Shirtong. Due to his special status, player Yi Chun is rewarded with 108 attribute points. When the system notification ended, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. His cultivation level was too high. Otherwise, he would have too many innate attribute points. When Yi Chun thought of this, Ying Zheng, who was looking at Yi Chun, suddenly had a change in expression. Why do you have the power of space? Ying Zheng had never thought that his generals would be able to kill Yi Chun. After all, Yi Chun had even killed Bai Qi. How strong could 3 Purple Palace Realm zombie generals be? However, Qin Shi Huang had only thought of the ending of his generals, but not the entire process. To be more precise, the power of space Yi Chun had displayed greatly exceeded Qin Shi Huang's expectations. Otherwise, his expression wouldn't have changed, and he wouldn't have asked Yi Chun. When Yi Chun heard Ying Zheng's question, he glanced at Ying Zheng and said, "That's not important. What's important is that if you don't hand over the 9 cauldrons of the Protector Kingdom, you will die a horrible death." Yi Chun, the path of Emperor's path isn't easy. Why can you share the world with me? Qin Shi Huang's eyes narrowed, and he asked in a deep voice. When Yi Chun heard this, he smiled coldly and said, "I know better than you. Whether the path of Emperor's path is difficult or not, I know better than you. From the moment I decided to take this path, there was no such thing as sharing." When Yi Chun said this, he glanced at Ying Zheng and continued, "In fact, from the moment you began to negotiate with me, your path of Emperor's path has been completely cut off. Emperors don't submit, much less compromise. If that's the case, then die for me." When Ying Zheng heard this, his expression changed again, and he shouted angrily. After Ying Zheng finished shouting, the 9 cauldrons of the Protector Kingdom suddenly shook. Buzz! After a few buzzes, a 5-clawed black dragon formed completely from fate appeared in the sky. When Yi Chun saw this, his eyes widened. "I was waiting for you to use this move." After Yi Chun finished thinking with a thought, the innate treasure, the 9 orifices exquisite stone, appeared instantly. Roar! After a dragon roar that shook the sky, the 5-clawed black dragon couldn't help but tremble. Ying Zheng, who had released the 5-clawed black dragon, narrowed his eyes and shouted, "How is this possible? Nothing is impossible." Yi Chun smiled coldly and shouted. After Yi Chun finished speaking, the innate treasure, the 9 orifices exquisite stone, flew up instantly and flew straight toward the 5-clawed black dragon. In the blink of an eye, it devoured the 5-clawed black dragon. "No, my fate, that's my fate." When Ying Zheng saw this, he immediately let out an extremely crazy roar. When Yi Chun heard this, he cast a glance at Ying Zheng, who was acting like a madman. He curled his lips in disdain and said, "It used to be, but it belongs to me now." In fact, the Golden Dragon of Fate wasn't that easy to devour, but the Golden Dragon of Fate created by Qin Shi Huang wasn't like this. As for the reason, it was very simple. At this moment, Qin Shi Huang was like a rootless duckweed. He didn't have an empire, only fate. If not for the 9 cauldrons of the kingdom locking this fate would have been integrated into the heaven and earth providence of the beginner's area of the 3 kingdoms. How could it be used by Qin Shi Huang? Of course, Qin Shi Huang had the 9 cauldrons of the kingdom and could use this heaven and earth providence. However, the problem was that Yi Chun had the 9 orifices exquisite stone. It was simply too easy for him to snatch away the heaven and earth providence of the rootless duckweed. Chapter 701. As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, an indescribable sense of comfort suddenly appeared in his body. At the same time, The speed at which Yi Chun automatically absorbed heaven and earth spirit qi suddenly increased by 100 times. Furthermore, at this moment, Yi Chun's comprehension ability also increased rapidly. Sensing the changes in his body, Yi Chun's eyes lit up. Damn, half of the Three Kingdoms beginner's luck was added to his body. It was so King awesome. Thinking of this, Yi Chun couldn't help but laugh wildly. At this moment, the system notification sounded again. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for successfully taking back the human race's luck. Special reward, Fortune X2. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun, Son of Destiny, Ordinary, has advanced to Son of Destiny, Yellow, Low Grade. As soon as the system notification ended, Yi Chun's eyes lit up. Damn! The Son of Destiny had advanced. Son of Destiny was the title that Yi Chun had obtained when he had obtained 50% of the Great Han Empire's luck. Its function was to increase the drop rate and the quality of the items dropped. And this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that, as a Son of Destiny, he had many opportunities and blessings. His luck was so good that it was off the charts. Even if he was just walking, he could step on immortal and divine artifacts. Of course, this was the Three Kingdoms beginners area. It was impossible for Yi Chun to step on immortal and divine artifacts just by walking. After all, the best equipment here was a heaven-grade weapon. As for immortal and divine artifacts, it wasn't that there weren't any. However, treasures of this grade were mostly in the hands of players and a few natives. There were pitifully few of them. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that Yi Chun's status as a Son of Destiny had advanced. Moreover, it had advanced before he ascended to the primordial world. This was the most important thing. Fortunately, Emperor Qin's plan was big enough to snatch half of the human race's luck. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to obtain the heaven and earth luck now. Although no equipment had been dropped from this trip to the Underground Palace's secret realm, the gains were really not small, awesome. At the thought of this, Yi Chun could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then, with a thought, he instantly kept the 9 orifices exquisite stone, which had snatched away Emperor Qin's fate, into his small world. At this moment, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for killing pre-Qin generals Zhang Han, Wang Bin, and Nishitung. Due to his identity as a Purple Mansion Realm zombie, player Yi Chun is rewarded with innate attribute points X300, Immortal Pet Evolution Scroll X9, and Netherworld Recruitment Token X1. The world announcement was repeated 3 times, causing the world channel to explode. F***CK. It can't be right. How long has it been? Yi Chun killed another 3 Violet Palace Realm zombies? What is there to be surprised about? Don't forget, Yi Chun killed by Qi. That's right. Tsiu. It's just 3 Violet Palace Realm zombies. What's so strange about that? Damn it, you speak as if you can kill a Violet Palace Realm zombie. Don't you think it's strange? Yi Chun's reward this time isn't that high. Although I don't know what kind of existence this realm is, how can killing a monster of this realm only give such a small reward? Don't tell me you want to let Yi Chun get more benefits? Idiot. Don't forget that Yi Chun has already gotten a lot of good things. If he continues to get more, what is there left for us? F***CK your mother. I'm just summarizing my experience. What do you know? In my opinion, Yi Chun is probably messing around because his realm is too high. Don't forget, Yi Chun is now in the God Martial realm. The Violet Palace realm is 2 or 3 realms lower than Yi Chun. That might be the case. If that's the case, then if you want to get good things, you have to fight monsters of the same level or fight monsters of a higher level. Damn it. Aren't you talking nonsense? Don't forget that when the game just started, Yi Chun immediately killed a world boss and obtained a lot of good things. Speaking of which, didn't you see the Netherworld Recruitment Token? What the hell is that? Damn it, I don't have it. How would I know what it is? The world channel was abuzz. Yi Chun couldn't help but raise his eyebrows after taking a look. Summarizing the experience in the game world and looking for the rules of this world was indeed beneficial. Unfortunately, this was only the Three Kingdoms beginners area. When he reached the Eldritch world, he would have to summarize again. Thinking of this, Yi-Chen couldn't help but smirk. Then he looked directly at the Netherworld recruitment token that had already appeared in the small world. Netherworld recruitment token. After using it, you can randomly obtain a subordinate from the Netherworld. Seeing this, Yi-Chen's eyes suddenly lit up. Damn it. This works. Yi-Chen wanted to set up the Netherworld in advance. Unfortunately, Qin Shi Huang's zombie subordinates either didn't submit or didn't agree with Yi-Chen's wishes. The only one that Yi-Chen fancied, Xiang Yu, had self-destructed. No matter how capable Yi-Chen was, he couldn't conjure a subordinate out of thin air. Of course, this was before. Now that Yi-Chen had obtained the Netherworld recruitment token, he could directly recruit a subordinate from the Netherworld and send this subordinate to the Netherworld. This way, Yi-Chen could start setting up the Netherworld. Could this be the power of the Son of Providence? Damn it, what was I thinking? What was happening? Not bad. Not bad. As soon as Yi-Chen thought of this, a ferocious roar could be heard. Yi-Chen, how dare you ignore me? I want you dead. Hearing this, Yi-Chen looked directly at Qin Shi Huang, who had been ignored for a long time and whose eyes were filled with resentment. Then he curled his lips in disdain and shouted, "Hand over the 9 cauldrons of the ancient kingdom." You want the 9 cauldrons of the ancient kingdom? Exchange it with your life. Qin Shi Huang glared hatefully at Yi-Chen when he heard this, and then roared loudly. As soon as Qin Shi Huang finished speaking, a pitch-black altar suddenly appeared beside Qin Shi Huang. The moment he saw the altar, Yi-Chen's eyes suddenly shrank. Summoning altar. Yi-Chen didn't expect that Qin Shi Huang, who looked like he was at his wit's end, not only had a summoning altar, but he even used it in front of Yi-Chen. If it were anything else, Yi-Chen wouldn't care. However, a summoning altar was something that Yi-Chen couldn't help but be concerned about. This was because the summoning altar could only summon from the world after ascending. For example, the black dog demon that Yi-Chen had killed in the real world was summoned by a shifter player through the summoning altar. Qin Shi Huang had also taken out a summoning altar. What he wanted to summon might come from the Chaos World or the Netherworld realm. As for which world it would come from, Yi-Chen didn't know. However, Yi-Chen was very clear about one thing. He couldn't let Qin Shi Huang succeed in his summoning. Otherwise, Yi-Chen might be fine, but there was a high chance that Yi-Chen's subordinates would die. As for the reason, it was very simple. The current secret realm in the underground palace was far stronger than the one in his previous life. To be more precise, the current secret realm in the underground palace had purple mansion realm zombies, ghost kings that were comparable to immortal foundation realm cultivators, and Xiang Yu that was comparable to divine martial realm cultivators. The quality of the offerings that could be used in such a secret realm definitely wouldn't be low. The level of the beings that the summoning altar could summon would depend on the quality of the offerings. It was also because of this reason that Yi-Chen didn't want Qin Shi Huang to succeed in his summoning. Thinking of this, Yi-Chen stabbed the Godslayer in his right hand towards the pitch-black summoning altar without hesitation. However, at this moment, Qin Shi Huang suddenly threw out a jade talisman. After a buzzing sound, a golden light shield suddenly appeared and then shrouded the summoning altar. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.